The main character sees a blonde man in front of her who is as dazzling as sunlight. The guy has blue eyes that twinkle like stars, and the lady wonders if this is heaven. At the same moment, she wonders if he came to plunge her into eternal sleep. Well, she understands that she declares, with 100% certainty, that she sees this man for the first time. However, she has some strange feeling. The guy at this time claims that he has no idea how it happened, but the lady is brave. And if she tells the truth, he will show mercy and plunge her into eternal sleep with one blow of a knife. The girl looks at this dagger and realizes that it has an incredibly intricate pattern that she has never seen in her life. The light of the precious stone that adorns this dagger also looks unusual. Therefore, the main character in shock asks if it is really Kyle. But the young man wonders if she has only just realized this. She would never have found out anything if she hadn't sneaked in there unnoticed. The main character immediately gets up and screams that she knows. After all, behind him is a flag with a scarlet hawk, and this is the symbol of the Imperial dynasty of Biltion. The lady claims that he is just as she imagined him, although in real life, he seems much cooler, that the hawk could soar to the skies at any moment. Her interlocutor at this time asks if the lady has gone crazy, and what if the knife suddenly hit her head. But at the same moment, the girl feels pain in her neck, and when she touches it, she wonders if this is really a red liquid. The girl looks in the mirror and wonders who she is, and whether the beautiful lady in the mirror is really her. But at that very moment, her head starts to spin. And the girl understands what it means when they say that your head is spinning from happiness, after which she completely falls on the bed. The blonde watching this thinks whether she has really fainted, now smiling. The novel that the lady without any ulterior motive began to read 6 months before this is called The Grey Cardinal. In the distant sacred lands of the Biltion Empire, there is a country where only those with scarlet eyes can rule. There were several princes under the emperor, and one misfortune after another befell the princes whose eye color was different. One of them was secretly put into eternal sleep, and another experienced a suspicious incident, and most of the emperor's children fell into eternal sleep. But he paid absolutely no attention to this, since the color of their eyes was not scarlet. And then one day the man who was considered missing returned. It was the fourth prince named Isaac. Everyone thought that it was completely impossible, but the black-eyed prince became the emperor. That's where this story began. And although it sounds too banal, the whole story revolves around the main character. His life statistics are all down to sheer luck, but at the end of the day, isn't this a character who's guaranteed a happy ending? And for the sake of such a good outcome for the main character, there will definitely be secondary characters who can never be happy. Kyle de Biltion, who was the first prince of the Biltion dynasty, is a blue-eyed prince who has to endure a mother who wants to make her son an emperor. He was the one who tried his best to become the recognized crown prince, but ended up being the one who went to war, in which there was not the slightest chance of victory, and he met his miserable fate there. But the main character understands that such an ending is not at all suitable for her cutie. No matter what, a person has 3 rights: the right to freedom, equality, and love. Everyone else is born with that right. Well, characters like Kyle are doomed to be unloved for who they are, and also to throw them away when they become useless. But the girl thinks that no matter how far their role is from the foreground, it is too unfair. And so the lady says that he is still a secondary character, so let him at least be hers, and she wants to make him happy. The girl's name is Kim Gyum Ja. As always, she worked overtime, finishing late at night, and dragged her exhausted body home. Well, a huge truck, rushing at a huge speed, stopped her. In fact, people have experienced something similar to the feeling when she is hit by a truck for a very long time. At that time, she was absolutely broken because of a minor character in one novel. It was Kyle de Biltion from the novel called The Grey Cardinal. The guy who was never happy and completely useless sank into oblivion after Volume 3, and not a single living soul mourned his immersion into eternal sleep. Therefore, the first emotion the girl experienced after this was emptiness. She felt like it would be easier if she talked to someone about Kyle, so she decided to look for various blogs about the novel. And even there, where you recently Mongols have been talking a lot about their work, and even in the personal account of the author of the novel, she couldn't find a single line about Kyle's story, so she began to feel a gradually growing anger. The girl furiously asked if he was not the main character, then he was not worth talking about at all, and she missed Kyle so much. The girl said that if everything was planned like that, then why did he even describe his appearance and made him just a handsome guy? She wanted to love Kyle, who exists only on paper, a little longer, and there is no fever stronger than love. The girl reread the novel with a new one again, in search of the slightest mention of him, and it is absolutely natural for her to meet him in heaven. Now someone asks the lady if she has woken up, and the girl realizes that she seemed to have fainted for a short time. The main character wonders if this is really not a dream. The lady turns to Kyle, after which he keeps saying that she is not some kind of suspicious person, so why did he tie her up? She also turns around and screams if she is still in Kyle's room, and this is the bed he is lying on and resting. The young man claims that she is hiding in his bedroom late at night, and now she says that she is not suspicious, and he had to take such measures so that the girl would not try to put herself into eternal sleep again before revealing her identity. The main character asks if this is what he was talking about earlier, but she herself thinks, what is this? Because he bandaged her wound, and was the guy really worried about her? Because if so, then they warmed up. The girl also understands that everything is true. And although he looks cool, she knows that in reality, Kyle is much more good-natured than anyone else. He is like a little canary. Hey lady, she wants to keep him in the cage of her love and feed him only goodies, but this will be considered a crime. At this point, the blonde is wondering for the last time who she is, but the lady doesn't even know how to answer. And he claims that even if she tells him, he won't understand, but the blonde tells her to tell him. After all, he will listen and decide, after which he clicks his teeth, and the girl immediately asserts that she is speaking, after which she asks him to look at her. The main character thinks that if the guy frowns, wrinkles will appear on his handsome face, and immediately claims that she came from Seoul, which is the capital of the Republic of Korea, and her name is Kim Gyum Ja. The girl looks at the guy and wonders if he will call her name with his cherry-colored lips. This is her sparkling name in writing, which her father specifically used the hieroglyph for gold. So the lady asks in her thoughts to call him her beautiful, like the sound of jade beads on a tray voice. At the same moment, the guy calls her by name, but claims that it is somehow strange. The main character then realizes that he pronounced it incorrectly and tells him to repeat it one more time. The guy tries after this, but he fails, and then he distorts her name even more. The lady is shocked to realize that her darling can't pronounce her name. The guy asks her what she just said, and he claims that she did say something similar to the word canary, but at that very moment someone bursts into the room. It turns out that it is the knights, who are wondering if His Highness is okay, because the servants were told that they heard some loud noise. The main character turns to this guy and realizes that he has red hair, amber eyes, as well as freckles and tall stature. So this is definitely Kyle's right hand. Kim Gyum Ja asks if this is Benji, to which he replies that yes, but wonders who the girl is. At this time, the blonde turns to the knight and claims that this girl is a thief. The red-haired boy wonders if she really tried to commit an assassination attempt, and his master replies that for now he is only sure that she is suspicious, since he found her in her own bed, suddenly waking up in the middle of the night. Benji immediately puts his sword to the lady and screams, "How dare she do such a thing?" because no one dares even talk to His Highness. The lady immediately screams that she is not an assassin or anything like that, and that she is a simple person who got there out of great love for Kyle. The blonde just smiles at this and asks if the girl is really saying that she likes him, because this is something new. At this time, Benji is wondering if His Highness just smiled, and the blonde insists that the further the more interesting it gets, and he says that the lady came to immerse him in eternal sleep. And now she says that she likes him. When Kim Gyum-ja looks at his smile, she even gets embarrassed and thinks that it is too beautiful. And among all the people she's met, only Kyle looks so gorgeous. The girl realizes that this is a complete mind-blowing. And in the Korean dictionary, the definition of the word beautiful should be changed to Kyle. At this time, the guy says that first of all, Benji should put away his sword because he is curious about what kind of nonsense this girl is talking about. The guy approaches her, and the main character thinks that this is good because she wants to look at this beautiful sculpture-like face even closer. The guy at this time looks at the lady and says that she really doesn't know what shame is, and she clearly has no manners or upbringing since she continues to call the prince by his name. And the guy with red hair at this time is thinking about what His Highness is talking about. And the guy claims that Kim Gyum-ja just said that she loves him and called him by name, after which there is silence between them. And the knight turns to His Highness and also claims that he heard nothing. And he also thinks that His Highness is too shocked by the appearance of the assassin. So now he is hallucinating. At this time, Kim Gyum-ja is thinking how he found out. And it can't be that he hears her thoughts. The blonde at this time embarrassedly claims that the lady said he was too beautiful. And Kyle is much more good-natured than anyone else, like a little canary. And also, the great Kyle, among all she met, looks so great. After this, the main character screams in shock. Did he really hear all of this? And the young man wonders if everything he just heard was really a hallucination. The girl at this time thinks how he did it at all, and whether he is by any chance a telepath. Kyle heard all her dirty thoughts so clearly, and the lady thinks what kind of useless and disgusting superpower is this. The lady also thinks how she can be 5. His Highness is in a panic, and she wants to comfort him so much. The young man claims that for some reason he hears other people's voices that say all sorts of nice things about him. At this time, the knight says that this cannot be. And could it really be that the girl cast some dangerous spell on His Highness? And now she stared at him with her evil eyes because he even got goosebumps from all this. The main character at this time looks at the guy with a look full of love, and the blonde asks what the hell this is, and orders Benji to find out if anyone in this palace knows Kim Gyum-ju. The red-haired youth obeys His Majesty and states that he will definitely question everyone in the palace and also send a request to the guilds. The blonde then hands him a lock of hair and claims that this color is not very common. Benji agrees to this, but asks if it is okay for His Highness to remain there alone with this girl. The blonde replies that who knows, after which he thinks a little. Well, he claims that she is, of course, slightly annoying. However, he thinks that everything will be fine, after which the young man with red hair approaches the lady. And he says that if she dares to behave even a little disrespectfully, she will be plunged into eternal sleep by his hand. Kim Gyum-ja understands that it seems that little Bandy is angry because in the novel, even at the moment of his immersion into eternal sleep, he is not really drawn. But when the guy claims that he can throw her into the Imperial dungeon right now, the girl jumps on his foot with her heels. The young man immediately goes into shock and screams that it seems like a bone is falling off his leg. He also asks how he can leaving His Highness alone with such a dangerous man. But the blonde tells the guy not to worry and to come back soon because he will be careful and, unlike Benji, will not get too close to her. A little while later, the two are already sitting opposite each other, after which the main character asks if he can hear. The guy replies that no, and the girl wonders why Kyle can hear her thoughts. And besides, from that moment on, she kept thinking about various animals, and also about wanting to sing and being hungry, but it seems he doesn't hear such thoughts. At this time, the guy is thinking, what is this lady doing? And she is wondering what the hell the pattern is. An hour earlier, the blonde asked why he was hearing other people's voices, and the knight asked what kind of spell the girl had cast on His Highness, and let her confess. Kim Ja replied that there could be no such thing because she has such a pure and fair heart. She also thought that the guys should make their faces simpler because she also had no idea what was going on. Then the girl wondered what he could and could not hear and turned to Kyle. Well, when she saw that the knight was about to take his sword out of its sheath, she addressed him as His Highness. She also claimed that she felt like he was not hearing all the voices of her soul, and the knight asked why she thought that. Ja, looking at the young man with red hair, understands that he can definitely immerse someone with the sparkle of his eyes. And the girl replied that it was because if they suddenly heard all her thoughts, then every member of the royal family would already be hunting for her. Ja realizes that even when Kyle smiles, his face is too cute. The knight immediately screams for the lady to look at her face and wonders if she is planning something evil again. After this, the girl claims that her hands are starting to go numb and asks if it is possible to untie them a little. After all, he sees that she has nothing resembling a weapon. After which His Highness agrees about the knight, in shock asks why. Well, at first, the blonde guy claimed that he wanted to test something, and they started conducting an experiment on what kind of thoughts he could read. Now the main character understands that there is absolutely no progress and wonders whether her hands will be untied today. Well, when the girl looks up, she realizes that the blonde is looking at her point blank, after which she thinks that he is dazzling, and there really is no one more beautiful than him. Ja thinks that it is so sad that she does not have a camera with her because she simply has to keep this image of Kyle forever. And they should also immediately call the court artist and ask him to paint a portrait, and she would like to kiss his eyes when the guy closes them like that. Kyle at this time becomes embarrassed and tells the girl to wait because this is already too much. And the main character at this time continues her thoughts and understands that in fact when he somehow turned around, she looked at his butt and it was so lovely. The lady keeps thinking that he is divine and brilliant and also has angelic looks, and if being handsome is a sin, then he should be subjected to Pugvenchemshi. His Highness at this time screams at Ja, and the main character wonders how much he heard. At this time the young man only asks what Pugvenchemshi means, and the main character understands that he really heard it, and also claims that it is an ancient work. In it, the body of a criminal is dug up from the ground and beheaded. The young man realizes that his question was a mistake, and also wonders if that's why the lady says she wants the same thing done to him, and it seems she really is an assassin. Ja replies, no. However, the blonde claims that she just confessed and didn't. It sounded like he deserved something like that. Ja is surprised by this and screams that everything is wrong. But at the same moment someone knocks on the room, and the guy claims that it looks like time and glass. The main character thinks about what to do, because it seems she really will go to prison. After all, she still wants to tell him so much. The lady also thinks whether she should leave this story already. She also understands that someone has come and wonders what she should do. Benji couldn't have returned so quickly, and maybe he called the guards at the entrance to the palace. The lady is already imagining how the knights will take her away and then sentence her to be burned. That's why she's shocked and thinks that it's not necessary, because she's already just fallen into eternal sleep, and she doesn't want to repeat herself. At this time, the blonde notices how nervous the lady is, and the maid who is behind the door at this time addresses His Highness. The guy comes out from behind the door and asks what happened, and the maid says that Princess Sienna is calling him to have breakfast. The maid also wonders whether she imagined it or whether she just heard someone's voice. At this point, the guy grabs her heart and asks if she is talking about breakfast, after which he says everything is fine, and let her tell the princess that he will get ready now and go, to which she agrees. The blonde then closes the door, and the main character sighs and thanks him. After which the young man states that now that they will no longer be disturbed, he takes a dagger out of his pocket. Jae in shock asks why he hid the dagger if he had it from the beginning. After which the guy grabs the lady, and she closes her eyes, but he only cuts the rope on her hands. After this, the main character says that it is true, and if she passes the test, they promise to untie her. Well, then she also understands that the red liquid does not flow to her hands and says that her hands are cramping. At this time, the blonde takes her hands in his and offers to look after, which he turns to Kim Geum-ja. Well, the girl at the same moment thinks how kind he is, and the guy is like an angel. The blonde at this time begs her to stop this and says that it is worth stopping thinking about such strange things. Kim Geum-ja wonders if he could hear again and claims that she really doesn't understand anything. The lady thinks that she can be heard when she calls him by name, and the guy claims that now everything is immediately clear to him from her face. Kim Geum-ja asks if it's true, but thinks how can she control her expression when it comes to Kyle's beauty. Well, anyway, she has to be careful. After which the lady decides to do just that, and the guy claims that he is going to change clothes. The main character suggests that he do it quickly and thinks that it will probably be something incredible. The lady is already imagining this, but the blonde at the same moment screams for her to turn away immediately and agrees to something. Kim Geum-ja understands that she was so close, but even when he is shy, he is cute. After which the girl realizes that she is hungry and asks His Highness if he really won't be able to take her with him for breakfast. The guy replies that if he doesn't answer, it's only for members of the Imperial family. Kim Geum-ja thinks how jealous she is. After all, she also wants to get to the royal breakfast, and probably it is similar to the buffet in hotels. But at that very moment, the lady hears him say that he is so sad that he is not a member of the family. Kim Geum-ja wonders who it is. The maid just left, and then maybe it's Kyle's reaction. Sienna is the third princess of Debilteon, and it was believed that her older brother would inherit the throne. They mercilessly got rid of everyone who stood in their way, including the villainess who would later want to plunge that prince with black eyes into eternal sleep. She usually ignores Kyle's existence, but what she absolutely cannot be forgiven for is that she constantly plays with food. The girl put poison in the side dish that would be served to Kyle with the main course, and every time for several days, he vomited after breakfast. Therefore, the main character understands that in order for this to not happen again, she needs to tell him everything. At that moment, the girl turns to His Highness and addresses him. Well, the guy who hasn't changed yet is embarrassed and screams, "What is she doing?" because he ordered her to turn away, after which the main character apologizes but smiles. At this time, the princess prepares a side dish with poison and thinks that everything is great, and one could say perfect. A little while later, the main character looks at Kyle and thinks how magnificent he is and how he can be so beautiful. Kim Geum-ja understands that even when he just breathes, that alone can heal her and no vitamins or minerals are needed. After all, the main thing for her is to be near Kyle. The guy at this time only turns away from her, after which he turns to the lady and also claims that he hears everything. So he suggests stopping. Kim Geum-ja thinks how difficult it will be for her not to spy. Then the lady agrees, but she thinks that it would be better if she eavesdropped on what Kyle was thinking, because it is a really useful ability. The main character then turns to the guy and asks why he just hit her. And he didn't call the palace security, because shouldn't such a suspicious person be put into custody? The guy claims that although he doesn't know where Kim Geum-ja came from and where her soul is, well, their empire has its own rules. You cannot accuse a person until his identity is established and his guilt is proven. The main character realizes that she did not notice that there was something like this in this novel. And the lady claims that apparently she thought too badly of the Middle Ages. The blonde asks what she is talking about, and the main character replies that nothing. And nevertheless, she will not become a criminal simply because she ended up in his bedroom. The girl claims that she doesn't even have a weapon, and that she was the one who got hurt. If she really were an assassin or a witch, then either she or Benji would have already fallen into eternal sleep, to which His Highness replies that if you listen to her, the lady is white and fluffy. The main character at this time thinks that this guy is a real angel and his perfect-looking face makes the stated impression on her. That's why the girl thinks that he is a walking bomb of attractiveness, which shocks the guy and makes him scream for her to stop it. After which the young man sighs and says that in any case, it seems that the lady is not a dangerous person, although she is a little creepy. The main character at this time sighs and thinks that thank God he thinks that she only a little. And although thinking about this guy is a continuous pain, she cannot stop doing it. The girl thinks that if this is really not a dream, then she really has run into the gray cardinal. After all, she is sure that she still has time before the guy's life is tragically cut short. And maybe she can change his fate. The blonde at this time claims that he will return soon and let the lady stay there for now. Well then the main character apologizes and asks him to wait a second. She wants to call him by name again, but stops, and the guy's command is His Highness. The young man asks what she needs. The girl asks if he will only be with members of the Imperial family at this breakfast, because if so, she asks not to eat his side dishes. Every time after breakfast, his mouth would become dry, and his stomach would swell, and then he would vomit for a couple of days. The guy is shocked and asks how she found out about this. The lady replies that it's all because of Sienna, after which the guy turns to her, a little surprised. And the main character realizes that she went too far. Kyle claims he doesn't know how the lady knows Her Highness, but that's too much. What she just said was so rude that he could put her to eternal sleep right now. But the main character only thinks that even when a guy is strict, he is unrealistically handsome. At the same moment, the lady stops herself and understands that she needs to stop thinking about it. Kim Ja turns to the guy and claims that Her Majesty Sienna. Well, at that moment, the lady thinks that if she says something bad about this devil, he will get angry. But for Kyle, she is ready to do anything. And firstly, judging by the novel, the main character Isaac will soon return to the palace. And she will help the guy because she will reveal Sienna's conspiracy. But the girl cannot watch Kyle suffer, even for a day, so he will have to listen to what she wants to say. Kim Ja claims that Her Highness is having fun poisoning his food. And even though she only adds a small amount of poison to his side dish, His Highness always feels so ill afterwards. So let him not touch the side dish. But the guy then wonders how the girl found out all this if she is not a spy. Kim Ja understands that this is all too suspicious and doesn't even know what to answer. But the guy claims that he had some idea that the princess was up to something. Well, even knowing about it, he still had to endure it. After which the guy is silent for a while, and the main character thinks, what self-abasement this is, and she wanted to say that there is no need to be so cool. The lady understands that her Kyle is so innocent, and he is like a national treasure, so he needs to be protected. If you undermine the guy's health with all sorts of poisons, then this will affect his beauty. And therefore the lady understands that she will not allow this, and will do everything in her power. Of course her intervention will take away the chance to help Kyle from the other prince. But that's okay. There are plenty of other moments for these two to become close friends. If her memory serves her right, there's still time before the black-eyed prince appears. And the girl cries out to His Highness that even if it is so, he cannot eat side dishes. The lady looks at him with a pleading look, after which the guy sighs, and also says that when the lady thinks how innocent and graceful he is, then everything she says sounds unconvincing. At this time, Kim Ja complains about her thoughts and thinks how stupid these abilities are. The guy claims that it is too late, so he should leave, and also finds out how she knows about the side dishes after he returns. Then he leaves and slams the door, and the main character sighs. She thinks about the guy's words and wonders if she really thought about it so loudly. Well, in that case, she turns around and realizes that she is in her favorite's room, so she must examine every corner. The guy with red hair is heading down the corridor at this time and is thinking how much strength this girl has since he is still in pain. He realizes that he has contacted every guild, and there is not a single person like this girl. But at that very moment, the young man hears some kind of scream, and thinks that it is somewhere in the area of His Highness's room. At this time, the prince is at the table with members of the Imperial family, and someone says that his complexion is not very good, after which they even ask if something hurts, to which the guy replies that he just didn't get enough sleep. This woman is Priscilla de Bilteon, and also the first empress. The woman then asks why, after which someone else says that he didn't tell them earlier, and if the guy was sick, then he shouldn't have come. But it seems he came for him, so he apologizes. This young man is the second prince, named Heron. The young man claims that it would be disrespectful if he didn't come. The blonde then gets angry and clutches the knife in his hands, but then he calms down. And he says that in any case he didn't want to miss his younger brother's birthday. Someone else says that of course, if it weren't for this, there would be nothing else to do there, and she's very glad that her brother came. At this time, the girl asks if he is still shining today, especially his blue eyes, like the deepest lakes. At this point, the blonde sighs and wonders if they are tired of their meaningless path. After all, it looks like a change of mask. At one point, she says that the brother's eyes are like a lake. The next, they claim that they say one prince was not red-eyed. At this time, the guy remembers how Kim Guillaume-Ja said that Sienna is like a dog, and understands that the princess is so different from this girl. For some time now joining them for breakfast, he had been ill for several days, and several times he had pain in his intestines and a burning sensation in his mouth. But he couldn't refuse them, because he was afraid that various rumors would spread. When the young man is about to touch the food, he remembers how the lady told him not to eat the side dishes, after which he completely throws it away, and at that very moment someone turns to his brother, and she wonders if he really has no appetite today, and also if his stomach hurts. Well, after that, the guy removes the side dish and starts eating the meat, and also claims that probably because he didn't sleep well last night, everything seems so tasteless. The guy also asks for forgiveness and suggests not to ruin Heron's birthday. Well, at the same moment, the girl pierces the meat with a fork. A little while later, the guy finishes his meal and realizes that today there is no burning sensation in his mouth. The young man also remembers how the lady asked him not to eat the side dishes, and he wonders how the lady found out. A little while later, the guy is already training, and when he delivers multiple blows to the dummy, then he decides to rest and realizes that he got tired so quickly, and also probably because he couldn't sleep at night. It's all because of that girl. After which the guy takes his bag and realizes that it looks like the schedule will have to be changed. Well, at that very moment, someone wonders why he tries so hard and why he trains so hard and also attends classes every day. No matter how hard he tries, he will still remain just a blue star of Bilteon. The lady with green hair at this time turns to Her Highness and asks what she is talking about. Oh, Princess claims that she just suddenly thought that her brother is trying so hard and is all shiny from trying. Although the Imperial family is called the son of Bilteon, well, my brother was nicknamed the Blue Star. The lady with green hair says how beautiful the blue star sounds, and the lady with blonde hair replies that it is true, and it sounds really beautiful. But the girl asks if it seems to them that the sun and the stars cannot coexist together, after which she smiles and claims that it's not really that important, and her interlocutor doesn't even know what to answer. The blonde understands that such a stellar nickname hides the fact that he will never become the head of the Imperial family. The girl also leaves other people and understands that she needs to understand the reason. The blonde at this time returns to the mansion and realizes that he is tired and also could not concentrate at the next lesson. All morning there was no sound, so it turns out the girl sat silently. Well, when the guy is about to open the door, the knight comes out of the rooms and says that His Highness has arrived. Kyle asks if Benji managed to find out about Kin Gin Jae, and his interlocutor replies that no one in the palace has seen a girl with gray hair. Well, she is so conspicuous, so the blonde asks how this is possible and what the mercenaries from the guild said. The red-haired boy claims that he asked the informant, and no one had ever met the mercenary before, after which the blonde asks if he is really saying that no one hired her in the capital. And he also asks what King Ginza is doing now. And the knight doesn't even know what to answer to this. A few hours earlier, he heard a scream. He understood that this scream was coming from somewhere in His Highness's room. But when the guy ran into the room, he was surprised because he saw a lady with a pillow on her face. The guy thought that this couldn't be her. Could this really be the scene of plunging into eternal sleep? After which, he ran up to the lady and removed the pillow from her face. But the main character with a smile on her face only talked about Kayla. The guy with red hair claims that she spent the whole day admiring the gentleman's portrait and drooling, and that she also sat on his chair for a very long time. The blonde then tells him to stop and thinks for a bit. He realizes that he has never encountered such people before. The main character is at this time near the mirror and removes the bandages. She understands that it seems the bleeding has stopped, and apparently the wound is not deep at all. No matter how real this dream was, the cut does not hurt at all, and the lady wonders if it turns out that she has reincarnated after falling into eternal sleep. Or maybe it's a disease, but the girl thinks that, however, it doesn't matter because Kyle is next to her, so she somehow manages. While at the same moment, someone turns to the lady, and the main game does not think really he came. After which the lady sees her favorite and thinks how unreal he is, because looking at such a wonderful person, does it really make any difference whether it is an illness or a resurrection? And in the end, her past life revolved only around paying for utilities and rent, as well as overtime work, so she is satisfied with everything. And she really likes Kyle. The guy at this time wonders if Letty really doesn't know what shame is. And how many times did he ask not to mention her name? The main character is surprised after this. Well, he still turns to His Highness and asks if the breakfast was tasty. The guy smiles at this and claims that thanks to her, his throat doesn't burn at all today. Well, very soon, he will find out how the girl found out about this, so let her not even try to say any nonsense like that. She fell from heaven and knows everything about everything. The main character asks if he is talking about her descending from heaven as an angel, and the young man repeats once again that he will find out everything. The main character understands that since childhood, the principal is immersed in eternal sleep in a mysterious way, after which everyone hears him fly, that he really did not want her to be a mercenary. But in any case, Kyle tells the girl that he has no reason to imprison her, but he also cannot let her go free. And if they are in such a situation, then the guy offers the lady to tell them what to do. He also offers to work in the palace until he gives the order to the contrary. And the main character asks if this is true, and if so, then great. The girl is happy and thinks that she should be with Kyle every day, and she likes it so much. The guy only sighs after this and is about to stroke the lady on the head, but the main character suddenly raises her head, and he understands that she needs to be more careful with her thoughts. The blonde man coughs and claims that listening to this is driving him crazy. He also turns to Benji and tells him to find a job for King Ginji in his palace. A little while later, the main character asks Mr. Benji where he is going, and he replies that of course, to look for a job for her. The girl says that there is definitely something, and wonders if the prince always sleeps with a dagger because suddenly someone will come to put him into eternal sleep. The young man with red hair notes that yes, suddenly some spy like her will burst in. The main character then, almost crying, says that her poor prince sleeps so badly and is so tired that she doesn't even know what to do. The lady claims that she will protect him until the end of her days. She also wonders how many years True is turning this year, and the guys wonder what she just called His Highness. King Ginja suggests to Mr. Benji that I should be so serious because it is scary, and she didn't mean anything bad. If she calls His Highness by name, she will disturb his rest time. After all, he will hear her voice. The guy then says that here is the ear, and it is impossible to cause His Highness any inconvenience. What the main character distinguishes is that, of course, but the guy just continues on his way, and the main character wonders why this guy turns away when someone smiles. The young man claims that this year His Highness will turn 21. He graduated from the academy early and regularly attends additional classes. Naturally, those who don't understand anything call him a blue-eyed star and say that he will never become an emperor. But the knights claim that he doesn't think so, and the main character asks why. The guy replies that because there is no longer a person who was as concerned about the empire as His Highness. Qin Ginja clenches her fists and claims that everything is correct because she thinks so too. In her thoughts, the lady adds that he lived for the empire until the very end. Well, since she was there, that would not happen. The red-haired boy at this time said that it was the first time he heard a name like Qin Ginja. And for the first time he meets such a difficult-to-pronounce name. So it seems that she came from Thailand, and the guy is interested in how the lady found out about His Highness and about him. Now the prince is busy, so he decided to leave her alone for now. At this time, the main character thinks that this guy is starting to get irritated again. The lady realizes that she should have kept her mouth shut, but turns to Mr. Benzi, and she says she thinks he's a really good man. Her heart beats so hard because she sees how Mr. Bungie tries to do his best when it comes to His Highness. Being in a very distant place, she already knew about his loyalty and strength of spirit. The main character understands that she knows that Benji is greedy for praise, but she was in society, and through constant work, she learned to be funny and unobtrusive. The main character asks forgiveness from the writer of The Grey Cardinal for the fact that she complained when the plot developed very slowly due to many such prices. The young man with red hair claims that it is not that hard, and also, as soon as they find out who the lady is, she will be able to immediately return to where she came from. The main character understands that, as expected, he doesn't ask anything more about her, and in fact, even if he does ask, she has nothing to tell him, and there is only one way to go back. Although the lady does not know whether she fell into eternal sleep, or whether she was not the only one hit by a huge truck, and her body flew up by inertia. Shortly before falling, the girl lost consciousness and found herself inside the novel. Qin Ginja realizes that the prince is 21 years old, and if everything happens before the black-eyed prince returns to the palace, then maybe she can buy time and strengthen Kyle's position. Qin Ginja well understands that she needs to be calm because she will not allow the guy to live and fall into eternal sleep in complete solitude. The boy also turns to Madame Tully and realizes that she is the governess at Kyle's palace. The woman then greets the guy and asks how she can help them. The young man claims that due to some circumstances, he is responsible for this girl and asks if they have any work for her. The woman then says that that's it and claims that she just needs someone to clean His Highness's personal library. The lady who worked there before seems to be going back to her homeland and is going to become a farmer or something. And by the way, since it is more east, how can they find a new person so quickly? She also asks the girl what her name is. The guy is about to say it, but the main character hits him in the stomach at the same moment and realizes that she doesn't want to be called Qin Ginja there either. The girl also thinks if there is some easy and cute name, easy to pronounce. Well, then the main character remembers how someone turned to Josephine and asked why she was so happy. Qin Ginja realizes that it would be the best fit and claims that her name is Josephine, and since she is a commoner, she has no last name. The woman then says that it is good that the lady has the same name as her grandmother, so apparently it is fate. The girl realizes that the names of dogs sound even more sophisticated. The woman asks Josephine if she can read, after which the main character looks at the paper that was given to her and claims that she doesn't know how. The guy with red hair asks if that's really true. The woman then claims that if the girl can't read, then there's no suitable job for her, and she doesn't even know what to do. Qin Ginja claims that she works well where physical strength is needed, and if she cannot find work, there she will not be kicked out of the palace. The girl understands that if she goes outside the palace, she will have almost no chance of meeting Kyle, and then will she be able to save him from the next misfortune. The woman claims that she has no work for Josephine, but only for men. The main character is surprised by this, and a little while later, the girl is already heading down the corridor. She asks Benji if there is an empty room somewhere, and if he can bring her some new clothes. The guy asks why she needs an empty room and different clothes. Lydia replies that she must definitely get this job. The young man claims that it seems that she really is a spy, but the lady claims that this is not the case, because she is obliged to make His Highness happy and be near him. If there is no work for a girl, then she can do men's work because she will dress like a man. The guy is shocked by this and says that it is a man's job. The girl continues and claims that she knows, and it is either carrying huge buckets of water or sawing trees in the garden. The main character claims that she will just have to carry suitcases to the carts, and she understands all this. After which, she even tells the guy to hurry up and bring her some men's clothing. Well, the guy then stops and turns to the lady and also states, "It seems like she just called him by his first name." Again, Kin Gin Ja realizes that she has gotten into the habit of calling characters by their first names. Now she apologizes and tells him to stop being so tense. A little while later, the guy brings the lady some clothes and claims that this is all he found. Kin Gin Ja thanks him. And the young man claims that no matter how much he thinks about it, this idea seems absolutely reckless to him. So he will ask His Highness to come up with something else. Well, the main character claims that it is impossible for this to be outside of His Highness's palace, and that she will be able to help him by being as close as possible. The situation began to change gradually because Kyle, who they say never smiles, smiled at her several times today, and it seems she can somehow make him smile more often. The lady also tells Benji to trust her, but the guy only gets embarrassed by this and then turns away completely. The main character wonders what he's doing, and the young man understands that it seems she used a spell and wonders why all this is so. Kin Ginja asks what happened, but then turns to Mr. Benji again and asks if he has a knife, after which the lady asks him to lend it to her. The guy asks what she is talking about. After all, he can't give the knife to someone who is not trained in the art of using it. The lady asks if this is true, and then asks Mr. Bungie to help her cut it off, but the guy asks what. Kin Ginja replies that it's hair and thinks that it's of course sad because she worked so hard on healthy hair care in that world. But in that life, she suffered most because of Kyle, so there is nothing she could not do for him. In any case, the hair will grow back, so it doesn't matter to her. The young man with red hair asks if it is necessary to cut it. After all, he never gave anyone an old man's hair, but the main characters not only scream at him, and he grabs the guy, asking how much is possible, because he can just give her the knife and she will cut it all off. But the young man claims that a knight can never give his blade to someone. After a while, he finally agreed, and the girl tells him not to cut it all at once, but to divide the hair into 3 parts and cut it to the desired length. Everything is fine even if it turns out a little crooked, because it will be just like the common people. When the young man takes the lady's hair, he claims that it looks like the Milky Way. Kin Ginja asks if he said something. The guard replies that he just said something, that it somehow resembles the color of water in a clear river. Kin Ginja claims that it is very strange to hear such a thing. But when the guy is about to cut off a strand of hair, the main character screams and twitches. Kin Ginja asks how it is possible to suddenly poke a knife at her during a conversation. And at this time, the guy is holding a lock of the lady's hair in his hands. And the girl understands that this is a disaster, because now he's cut off too much of her hair, and the lady is screaming at Benjamin. The guy apologizes and claims that the lady just jerked too hard, and also asks if she was hurt. Kin Ginja sighs and says that she is a little offended by none of this. However, the girl sits back down and tells him to just cut along this line. Benji asks if she will take revenge on him, and the girl replies that everything is fine, because it is just hair. She also claims that if she wants to be close to His Highness, the prince, then it's nothing at all. The servant claims that it is true that they can do so, because no one can think insidiously while watching someone they like. Kim Gin-ja says that Benji is very quick to turn people into perverts, and the guy claims that she continues everything Benji, this Benji that, and she is going too far because he already apologized for cutting his hair badly. So the latter should at least try not to do this in front of others. It would be bad if someone heard a commoner calling an aristocrat by name, after which the main character says that of course this is understandable, and she will be more attentive. The girl realizes that Benji is unusually talkative and wonders if he is trying to relieve tension. A little while later, the young man has already finished the haircut and reports it. Kim Gin-ja realizes that there is no mirror in this room, so she cannot check how she looks. Well then, the main character turns to Benji and asks how she is to him. A little while later, the girl is already changing clothes and using bandages. She turns to Benji and asks if it was plausible. The guy just turns away, and he claims that it can be assumed that the main character asks if the guy is hot because his face is very red. The young man just turns around and says that if the lady is ready, they can go. The main character wonders what he is doing. A little while later, Benjamin introduces the girl as the younger brother of Josephine's twin. The woman asks if this is really true, after which she even asks what his name is. The main character understands that now she also needs to come up with a male name, but she still doesn't understand what male name might be suitable. The knight at this time says that his name is Joe. The main character, after Togo, turns to him and thinks what he is talking about. The guy then looks at the girl, and she understands that he is talking about her name. Kim Gin-ja immediately says that everything is correct because her name is Joe. Apparently, her parents were furious that they had to come up with names for him and his sister at the same time. After all, common people are all like that, so what's there to think about? The main character also wonders if all this is too strange, and also whether they were revealed. The woman then says with a smile on her face that it is excellent, and the guy understands that thank God it seems he was not discovered. After which the head maid claims that then he is tomorrow will be responsible for the stable, to which the main character does not respond, which is good, and she will work hard. Well, at that very moment the lady realizes what is being talked about. The woman claims that this stable had a guy working there before. Well, he ran away because the work was too hard. Anyway, it would be great if you had Joe in charge of it from tomorrow. And he's not going to run away like that guy. The woman says there's a small servant's house next to the stables, so it's best to spend the night there. These horses belong to His Majesty, and he must watch them very carefully. If they get sick or there is any problem with them, the guy should immediately inform her. Of course, he himself must take care of such trifles, as if the horses are not eating well or are in a bad mood. Since she also has a lot of things to do, it would be good if he conscientiously performed his duties as a groom. And the woman asks if everything is clear. The main character after this does not even know what to answer, but smiles and claims that she loves horses very much. A little while later, the lady is already heading out with the knight and realizes that at least this is not cleaning and polishing the carriages, as she initially assumed, but caring for the horses. If she works in the stables, she won't have a uniform, and that's good. Benji at this time tells the girl that the stables are right in front of her. The guy claims that he needs to go, so if something happens, let her go to the knight's barracks or to the chancery of the Imperial palace. The main character agrees, and the young man also claims that if she doesn't like the name Joe. However, the main character interrupts him and claims that when they are not alone, then let Mr. Bungie call her Joe. Kim Gin-ja Josephine will arouse suspicion, after which the guy is silent for a while. But then he turns around and says that it's good, and he understood. He also claims that he is definitely leaving now and suggests that the lady not create problems. The main character realizes that Benji has also left her, and now it seems she is truly on her own. Well, she is going to avoid making mistakes and adapt to life in this world. A little while later, the main character sees scattered hay and droppings on the floor, and also evil horses, which makes the girl surprised and wonders if she is really in the Imperial stables now. The lady wonders if there is too much work there. Then she turns around and sees the same house, in which she will spend the night. At the same moment, one of the horses snorts, and the main character thinks that she needs to endure. If it's for the sake of His Highness, who looks like a rabbit or a fox, then everything is fine. And compared to when she worked terribly overtime at their company, this is all nonsense. After which, the girl approaches the horses and states that her name is Joe, and from now on she will feed them and clean the stables there. At that very moment, one of the horses licks the lady, and she only smiles sadly and understands that this is how she began to live the everyday life of an Imperial groom. The lady claimed that they had met, and so she would probably start gradually getting down to business. The girl picks up a shovel and understands that she needs to start by cleaning up this horse manure. The lady also understands that it is already sunset, so perhaps she will just put this away and go to bed. But when the girl goes there and sees the whole picture, she feels sick. The girl thinks that even though she is in a novel, she will fall in love with him, as if it were reality. And maybe she should shove some straw up her nose. At that moment, someone comes up to the girl from behind and asks who it is. The girl turns to the man and wishes him good evening, also saying that her name is Joe. From today on, he works at the stables, but her interlocutor asks if this is really so. After all, he doesn't look like the type to work in a stable. Well, anyway, the man claims that they are completely short of hands, so that's great. His name is Rick, and he is the gardener here, so Joe can just call him Rick. The main character thinks that she can call Rick well. The man claims that first, you need to eat, and the main character asks if it's true, because she's terribly hungry. Well, her interlocutor replies that it's not him but the horses. Let the guy always take care of the horses first. And even if he sells the guy, the top amount of the proceeds will not be enough to pay for the horse's tail. So Rick taught her periodically, throwing out sarcastic jokes. The man claimed that he would now thoroughly teach him. So let the boy listen carefully. First of all, the horses need to be fed, comb, and clean them every day. When the girl finished work, she could barely stand on her feet. But the man only asked why the guy was so slow, because he was still young. And since it was his first day, did he really think he could do anything? Joe understands that he said that he would train her thoroughly, but it was all a lie, and it seems she understood why the previous employee ran away. At this time, the man screams out whether the guy's even listening to him, because he also needs to learn everyone's nicknames. He also asks if the guy would like it if someone called his name incorrectly, and the main character realizes that she has already been called incorrectly many times. She also claims that she will write everything down, and begins to write down the names of the horses in Korean. The man watching the boy understands that this is a real disaster. He does not understand how someone like him can be sent to the stable. Miss Tilly seems to be having a very hard time finding new employees lately. The man hits the guy on the shoulders and says that it's already evening, so they should go eat. The man claims that he needs to at least eat well. Otherwise, how is he going to work at full capacity? And the main character understands that, although he is quite harsh, he seems to be a caring and good person. However, the lady still thinks that if this guy gets to her again, she will have to change the genre of this novel to a thriller. A little while later, the lady lies down in bed and remembers her dinner. She realizes that it consists of corn porridge and one potato. She also has to sleep in such a dilapidated hut, so if it weren't for her crazy love, she wouldn't be able to endure it. Well, it's still good that you can see the night sky from there, and looking at the sparkling stars, she thinks about Kyle. After all, the guy is also called the Blue Star of Biltion. The lady also thinks that she read a novel every day around this time. At that moment, she gets out of bed and thinks whether she should send a message about what happened to her. She starts thinking about her cute and handsome Kyle and Kim Gyum. Well, for some reason he can't pronounce that name correctly, so let him just call her Kin Gin Ja. The girl also wonders if she can hear the masterpiece created by the hands of the god himself, named Kyle. The lady claims that she is in the stables. The bastard should come there whenever he feels that he misses her, and she will wait. Since he is probably tired, she stops sending him mental signals and also wishes him good dreams. After which, the girl thinks whether the message reached the addressee because she can neither check nor see his reaction. And if at least Benji were nearby, it would be good. The lady lies back down on the bed and understands that the message was sent too, so it is time to fall asleep. After waking up, she won't find herself in the real world. And if this is all a dream, then she doesn't want to wake up. A little while later, the main character enters the stable and wishes the horses good morning. The girl calls them all by name, and a little while later cleans the manure. The lady understands that thank God it was not a dream, and she did not return to the real world. This is her job, so she decides not to be stupid because she has to try. The girl thinks who knows, maybe with time Kyle will trust her, and she will show him Korean willpower. And so 3 months passed, but neither Kyle nor Benji came to see her. The main character wonders if this is the end. The girl understands that this is how this manhwa will end well. If this is a serious story about how the prince visits the groom, then it turns out that this is some kind of nonsense. The man at this time turns to Joe and offers him to stop suffering and also go have lunch. He turns to the little one again and says that he is doing well and that his shoulders have grown in width. The main character says with a smile on her face that it could not be otherwise, and realizes that a whole month has passed. She has fully adapted to working in the stable and to her new name. Although it was hard for her, gradually the work began to bring her pleasure. The people in the palace began to treat her more friendly, and she quickly became close to the other servants. A little while later, one of the ladies approaches Joe and claims that she heard that he had a fight with Rick yesterday, and now they came to have lunch together. The main character answered what to do since she was stuck there. Rick is her only friend, but his situation is the same. The man also pulls the lady by the hand and says that she is not the same, and he just has to babysit Joe. The girl understands that it just so happened that she accidentally got used to everything, and besides, no one yet suspects that she is a girl. The main character says that Rick should be grateful that he has such a young and cool friend like her. A little while later, the lady is already working and understands that this has its advantages. Doing her job every day, it was impossible not to pump up her muscles, and compared to what it was before, she grew up and got stronger. The girl also understands that it seems that today she did not send a message to Katzel. Therefore, the lady begins to think about him, and in her thoughts addresses him by name, and adds that he is most likely still as beautiful, and also asks to visit her today. The girl understands that he is terribly busy, but still terribly bored, and let him at least send Benji to her, because she is bored. The main character thinks that Kyle simply has to visit her because she won't be able to leave her place, or let him at least send her an album with his colorful and incredible photos. After all, at least this way, she will admire him. And if she starts to get lazy, she will immediately remember that he would get angry and fire her immediately. That is the difference between the working class and the aristocracy. The girl also says that she misses her handsome Kyle very much, and the guy is drinking tea at this time. The maid immediately turns to His Highness and asks if everything is okay. The guy replies that yes, and everything is fine. And the main character at this time thinks that she is crying because of how stylishly she misses him. Well, when she thinks about him again, a smile appears on her face, and she is like a real clown. So let him come to her. The blonde understands that this lady is really crazy, after which he turns to the window and realizes that even though the girl is so far away from him, but he still clearly hears her voice, so there is no nightmare worse than this. They are probably there dancing their crazy dances, holding a rake in their hands. The main character does just that at this time, and also talks about Kyle's most beautiful golden hair and wants him to marry her. The girl screams that he has golden hair and she has silver hair, and then their child will be something in between. The blonde man is embarrassed at this point and thinks that she should stop right now. Kyle had no idea what Qin Ginja was planning. Therefore, he locked her in the Imperial castle and secretly watched her because if he left her alone, she would either think of something bad or run away. Well, when he received the surveillance report on Qin Ginjoy, the observer claimed that she was singing songs while cleaning the stables. Angry that the black horse was being capricious and eating only fresh grass, she also had a fight with Rick on the way to breakfast, hit him on the head, then kicked him and ran away. After eating, she injured herself on rice straw and went to collect hay in the backyard of the Imperial Palace. She was able to pull the overloaded cart and seemed strong together with other workers. She pulled out a cart stuck in the mud. At this time, the blonde wonders if this worker was pulling the cart. And he also understands that he assigned observers to Joe and ordered him to be followed. But in the end, he did not find out anything useful. The guy wonders if she really isn't a spy, even though he watches her every day. It seems that the lady is incredibly stubborn, since no one has yet realized that she is a girl. And perhaps she is some kind of incredible professional. At the same moment, the guy begins to hear the lady's thoughts, in which she interferes with him and claims that this is the groom, and also that there is no one else who would suit the golden hair color as well as her Kyle. She also wants to fall into eternal sleep in his strong arms. The guy at this time thinks that she should stop and understands that today it is very noisy again, and thinks whether the girl is protesting because he does not come. He also turns to the servant and tells him to bring a pen and ink, to which he obeys. A little while later, one of the servants goes to the stable and asks if it is in this direction. The man remembers how the gentleman asked him to deliver a letter to a guy named Joe, who works in the stables, and he would read the letter that very minute. But the butler wonders who this Joe is, if His Highness himself writes letters to him. At the same moment, he hears someone who addresses the horse and claims that he just fed him fresh grass. She also says that the horse is a bad girl. At the same moment, the servant approaches this boy and asks if his name is Joe. The main character turns around and says that everything is correct because his name is Joe. The man looking at the lady is delighted. The girl walks up to him and asks if he has any business with her. At this time, the man only thinks what a handsome young man this is and claims that this letter was written by His Highness himself, so let her read it now. Qin Ginja asks if this is from His Highness Kyle. She then takes the letter in her hands and says that it's finally here. But at that very moment, the lady droops and claims that she is very grateful, but she really cannot read, and there is no one she could ask to read it, so the lady turns to the uncle and she wonders if he could read it to her. The man then tells the guy not to tell anyone that he read the letter to him, because they will think that he secretly reads the royal mail. The main character replies that of course she won't cause him any inconvenience. The man then starts reading. Kyle writes there that he understands perfectly well what Joe likes. Well, at that very moment, the man thinks about it and decides not to tell the guy. The main character asks the man what is written there, and he, almost crying, thinks what a poor guy. A few days after Joe was given a letter from Kyle, the blonde asked if the man had delivered the letter, to which he replied that he had. The young man understands that even after everything, Joe prayed to God so that he would let him see Kyle again. The guy realizes that in this case, it already seems to him that it would be better to keep her close to him, although this should never be done, because if she is anywhere nearby, his ears will fall off. He hands the servant another letter and says that it must be delivered today, and before leaving, he should make sure that Joe reads it. The man asks for forgiveness from His Highness, but claims that he cannot give such a letter to this child. The blonde is shocked after this and wonders why all of a sudden the knight at this time turns to His Highness and offers to go instead of the butler. Well, the blonde guy claims that it's just a letter and there's no need to send it there since there's no one else to go in that case. He also wonders why everything is like this, and the young man with red hair understands that it seems that Qin Ginja knows how to charm people. Just having met her, people immediately get tired of her side and believe every word, even though the theater meets her again and again. But the guys do not understand why this is so. In fact, Benji wants to give me a letter, but he's just been missing Joe for a long time. But at the same moment, the young man develops these thoughts and asserts that in this case, he will go. The blonde says, "That's good," and let him go to the stable. A little while later, the guy already comes there. When the main character notices him, she calls him by his name, and the guy asks if she shouldn't call him Mr. Benji. Kim Ginja answers that there is no one there and asks what is wrong with that. She also says that Benji cut all her hair, but at the same moment, the lady turns to a horse named Melissa and claims that she told her not to eat anything there. The guy with red hair claims that it seems the lady has gotten used to life in the stables, and she replies that, of course, and let him just take a look, because she even has muscles. The main character also asks him how she looks at him with such short hair. The young man is only embarrassed by this and turns away. The girl asks him why he is doing this all of a sudden. She also claims that she asked him how he liked her hair, but the guy replies that he thinks it would be better for her to wear a hat because such freaks should cover their faces. Kim Ginja claims that he doesn't seem to be popular with girls, because who would like to hear that? She also asks why he came there, and the guy replies that he brought a letter. Kim Ginja asks if this is really so and says that he is a knight and the right hand of His Highness. Therefore, to spend such talent on a simple letter delivery is wasteful. The guy then thanks for the compliments, but claims that none of the servants wanted to go to the stable. Kim Ginja asks if this is really true. It can't be. Razor asks why it can't be. The girl replies that it might be because Pal and Tommy came recently and brought her food and a blanket. They were also worried that she might freeze at night, and yesterday they also had fun together. The guy understands that they come for their own personal business, but did not want to bring her a letter, and he is sure that the whole problem is in him. The main character Vat hands him a letter and asks him to read it because she herself does not know how. The guy then takes the letter and starts reading it. There, His Highness asks Joe to stop thinking about him. After all, he has a terrible headache. The main character at this time turns to Benji and asks what is written in this letter, because she hates people who take so long to read the letter. The guy thinks that it's the same as before. Kim Ginja asks what it is, and the young man replies that His Highness was tired, so he asked why she didn't stop thinking about him so much. The lady is surprised by this and realizes that it seems she thinks so much already out of habit. Benji asks what she told him there. The girl replies that she said that in the next life she wants to become the lips of His Highness, because being the upper lip, she would be able to kiss the lower lip, and being born on the lower lip, I would be able to kiss the upper lip. The knight claims that it is actually quite restrained, and the main character says that it is exactly that. She sends her messages from the heart, and written, not as it really is, so she trembles every time she sends them. The girl wonders if His Highness hears everything at all. The knight answers that it seems like even the most obscene words. The main character is shocked after this, and the guy thinks what a poor thing His Highness is. Well, at that very moment they hear one of the horses scream and tell the main character that it's Dieppe again. She screams what to do, because if she loses him, she will be plunged into eternal sleep. The guy with red hair then screams at her to wait, because it's useless to chase a running horse. But the main character does not listen to him, and continues on her way. When she stands in front of the horse, she finishes telling him that everything is right, and also let him be a good boy. But before the lady can finish her sentence, she notices that the horse is already hanging over her. A moment later, the main character is already on the floor, and Benji is hanging over her. The main character asks what happened, because she just almost got hit by a horse. But at that very moment, Dieppe approaches these two again, and the knight immediately prepares to step aside with the lady. After he gets up, he screams that she almost fell into eternal sleep, and also says what an idiot she is. He asks how it was possible to just stand there And the main character asks why he says that. The girl immediately understands and screams that this is how she is, and in fact, she was also terribly scared. After that, he says that she should understand that something could have happened to her, and the girl replies that so be it. Well, what does it matter to him? Benji understands that if something happened to her, but at the same time, he thinks a little. And then he gets up and says that His Highness needs to be careful until her identity is revealed. So let the lady not do anything thoughtless. Kin Ginja says that it was Dieppe who almost knocked her down. The guy claims that this is why he asks her to be more careful. But at the same moment, the lady feels pain in her ankle. And then she falls on the guy's chest. Benji is surprised by this, and then completely embarrassed. He also asks why she is doing this all of a sudden. At that very moment, His Highness runs out from behind the tree, and seeing all this is shocked. At this time, the knight says that the lady frightened him, and the girl apologizes. At this time, a servant addresses His Highness, and he says that Her Imperial Majesty is looking for him. The guy then turns around and says, "Sure." A little while later, he comes to Her Majesty and asks if she called him. The woman replies that she does and offers him a seat. She also asks if the guy remembers Bernard Heston. The young man replies that he remembers meeting him several times in childhood, and that this feudal lord owns the lands of Heston. Sir Bernard has been given the title of Duke. The woman claims that this means it would be nice to visit him. The blonde then asks in shock if Lorraine has fallen into eternal sleep, and the woman replies that she has lived a long life. Lorraine insisted that the lands of Heston go to him, but they are still in someone else's hands. The guy understands that instead of Lorraine, the next Lord and Duke of Heston is the unknown Bernard, and so the woman says that he must definitely go and meet him. The guy wonders if it is necessary to get confirmation that Bernard is his loyal subject, and the woman claims that Heston has joined the Wellowists. She has already received his answer, and this should be a demonstration. The guy at this time thinks why Her Majesty always speaks as if the affairs of the Imperial family are other people's business. And the woman claims that she is very amused when she thinks about how the guy will return, having taken over Heston, who was unable to save the previous emperor. Of course, if the guy becomes emperor, then Sir Bernard will have to be given at least some ministerial post. The young man claims that he is Bilteon, and his mother is Veloist. Well, the woman tells him to think about who is the reason he is still alive and well living within the walls of this palace. The young man remembers how when he was little, he turned to Her Majesty and claimed that if she left him, Jimenez would probably put him into eternal sleep, so he asked the woman to help him. She is a queen, and she can do it because this guy begged her. Now the woman asks Kayla, who is he? After which he claims that he is the son of the Veloists and the Bilteons. Well, she wonders who he is within the walls of this palace. And if the guy's going to stop her, then she should have put him into the eternal sleep of a newborn. Many families support them, and there will be more of them. They do not have time to act, slowly choosing the appropriate methods. After all, the guy will become an emperor. The main character screams at this time. The knight claims that she seems to be hurt. Kim Gyum Ja asks if it is really necessary to speak in such a tone. The guy is silent for a bit in response to this, after which everyone bends down to the lady's ankle. The main character then screams that if someone sees this, what will they think? Well, the young man replies that if she is afraid that someone will see them, then she should stop calling him by name. After which the lady realizes that she continues to call him by his name. The girl also gets a little embarrassed, and she thinks that if her feet stink, Benji at this time tells her to just look at how much her ankle is swollen. After all, it is simply gigantic in size, to which the girl replies that of course it is because she pulled it so hard. And she also thinks that she damaged it at the very moment when they were dodging the horse. But when the girl looks at the expression on her interlocutor's face, she thinks, what is it, and whether her feet really stink that much. The guy claims that the stable seems to be a really dangerous place. Well, the lady replies that this is only happening today, and nothing like this has ever happened. The guy claims that she says that this has never happened before today, so how can she be sure that this won't happen in the future? Kim Gyeom. Joe wonders why he is being so proper today. The guy says that Bana bandaged it tightly and did not overexert herself. After all, it seems that the bones are intact, so everything will heal soon. The main character agrees to this, but then she remembers that she needs to feed the horses. The guy puts her back and tells her to just rest, because he will give them food. During training, he keeps an eye on his horse's hay, so he can handle it. And she just got hurt, so at least today she should allow herself to just sit. When the young man leaves, the girl wonders if Benji is really worried about her. After which, she smirks at him and thinks that she is probably worried. But he is such a cutie. The guy is polite and doesn't argue. Of course, she seems much younger, but in fact, she is like an older sister in age, so she can be called that. Kim Gyun-ju was not interested in anyone except Kyle, so she did not notice the sympathy from others at all. A little while later, the guy turns to Joe, and he claims that he can't leave his workplace for long, so he needs to go. Tomorrow he will try to come to her again, so let the girl not overexert herself, because she needs to rest. The main character agrees, but asks why he is such a bore, and why he is not Benji, some old man. But at that very moment the girl gets hit on the head and screams, "Did he really just hit her?" BG replies that he only hit her lightly. When the guy's about to leave, he suggests that she stop talking nonsense. Eat well and get well. Soon Kim Gyum. Ja thinks that this person is probably hurt too, but she doesn't understand why he's so strange. Before he finally left, Benji looked back several times. A little while later, the main character sits down on her bed and realizes that after working, she realized that she was really injured. The lady also notices pain in her leg and realizes that it is very painful, and she also misses Kyle. The girl thinks how sad it is, and she needs to be reborn and also become a mirror in his room, and then she will be able to see him every day. Kim Gyeom. Ja is embarrassed and thinks that this is true, but then the lady wonders if she looks too much like a pervert. Well then, the girl thinks that since Togo, he probably doesn't hear anything like that. The main character also understands that Benji did all the work, so today she will be able to go to bed early. A little while later, the main character hears someone approaching the stable. She wonders who came at such a time, and whether it was Rick. But then the lady wonders if he didn't say he would be back tomorrow. Therefore, the main character does not understand who it is. A little while later, she goes outside and takes a shovel with her. When the girl looks out from around the corner, she realizes that it seems like it's not Rick, and it could be a robber or an assassin. The lady also thinks that if only she could be okay, she would have already caught him and given him to the horse to eat. Well, it hurts too much. The girl claims that whoever it was, she misses Kyle even more. But at that moment, the guy hears her thoughts and turns around. Kim Gyum. Ja thinks, what is this? And this guy walks straight towards her. Seeing his hand, the lady thinks, how did he know that she is there? But at the same moment, the guy asks, what you mean, since she herself said that she missed him. A little while ago, after talking with Her Majesty, the guy returned to his room. He also remembered the woman's words and understood that everything was true, because if it weren't for his mother, he would no longer be in this world. Like other brothers and sisters, the boy suddenly remembered his childhood. His 3-year-old half-brother sank into eternal sleep by drowning in a pond. He was there with the servants, so such a plunge into eternal sleep seemed. But is it possible that he begged to conduct an investigation? But no one listened to him, and when he came to the emperor, he spoke to him in his signature detached tone. The man claimed he was busy and suggested they talk later. The boy returned and waited for him to call him, but he never called him until the very moment of Andrew's funeral. Having lost her son, the empress committed suicide. The emperor, in turn, quickly filled in all the missing cells with other puzzle pieces. And the following year, when Jimenez slowly sank into eternal sleep after drinking poison, He found his mother and was small and innocent, and she was the one who stood by his side. The woman then turned to the boy and asked who he was. The boy replied that he was Kyle de Biltheon, to which the woman replied that this was true, and he was the son of the emperor and also the first prince in line to the throne. So, what's the problem if Jimenez has entered into an eternal sleep? Because if he is sad, it will quickly pass. Let the boy remember that fame will give him much more pleasure. Then the young man could not ask her about anything. Ask if she added poison to Jimenez's food. And a week later, Jimenez fell into eternal sleep. And the funeral took place in the Imperial palace, according to all the rules and laws. Everything was repeated exactly, and no one except her mother was sad. Suddenly a thought came to his mind. Would his mother be sad if he fell into eternal sleep? And even if he cannot live as befits a crown prince, and is also useless, will God not plunge his feet into eternal sleep? The guy thought that if only he had red eyes, they would love him a little more sincerely. People at that time whispered that if you look at it that way, Princess Jimenez and Prince Kyle get along well. Someone else argued that since the guy is the first prince, even though he is young, he already has the pride that comes with his status. His Highness Kyle is the prince closest to the emperor, and the second prince still has no power. Someone asked if it was because he was small. And anyway, if you judge only by status, then the Deloa are more influential. The guy understood that it seemed like he was the one who was born to be an emperor. Even if he doesn't want it for his mother and others, he is just a tool. The young man understood that he should not immerse himself in memories, because this was not appropriate for a future emperor. He also thought that everything was right, because if he did not become emperor, then there would be no one left who would love him. But at the same moment, he listens to the thoughts of the lady who says that she is really sick, and it hurts so much that she misses Kyle. The girl thinks how sad it is, and understands that she had to be reborn and become a mirror in his room. After all, then she would be able to see him every day. Well, yes, the lady thought, didn't she look too much like a pervert? Well, I thought, what about Togo? He probably doesn't hear anything like that. At this time, I think that if in this world there is at least one person who will love him, even if he does not become emperor. Now the main character in shock asks if this is really Kyle. Then he screams out. The blonde is a little embarrassed by this and claims that the lady seems very surprised every time she meets him. The main character at this time is embarrassed and wonders if it is really Kyle, but she does not understand why he is there at such a time. The blonde guy at this time turns to the lady and claims that he heard she is sick. The main character thinks that yes, and she is sick because of Kyle. Her heart hurts, and even on such a dark night, she sees only him very clearly. So the lady wonders if she is hallucinating. The guy at this time claims that he is right in front of her, so let the lady speak out loud. A little while later, the two are sitting down, and Kyle asks if the lady cut her hair. The girl asks if he noticed since it was Benji's work, because Mrs. Tilly said she had no work for a girl who couldn't read. Then it occurred to her to dress up as a guy, but she didn't expect that they would cut her hair so much. Kyle is surprised at this time and wonders if she can't read. The main character is surprised by this and wonders if Benji didn't tell her that she can't read. The blonde then asks who has been reading her letters all this time, and the main character looks away, after which Kyle claims that it seems that the servants read them instead of her, which is why they did this to him. After all, he was served hard cakes and also dried ink. The girl asks if this is really so, since they all seem to be very good people. Well, at that very moment, the lady notices the pain in her leg and writhes from it. The blonde asks if something hurts her, but the main character doesn't answer that she recently sprained her ankle. The girl also apologizes for the letters, and since she is unwell, let him ask her once. But Kyle leans over the girl's leg and offers to look at it. The main character is surprised by this. She also tells Kyle that she doesn't understand at all what he's telling her, and that her feet probably smell. The blonde replies that it doesn't matter, and the main character is embarrassed at this time. Watching the guy, the lady understands that from above, he seems 20 times more attractive. And if she were taller than Kyle, she could look at him from this angle. The guy at this time turns to the lady and claims that people taller than him are a rarity. And the main character in shock asks why this voice is transmitting even such nonsense to Kyle. The blonde at this time is wondering how about hiding his thoughts, because after she changed into a man, it seems like she has become even more sticky. The lady asks if she really looks like a man, but then claims that it doesn't matter what she looks like, because she is still very cute. Kyle says that it seems that she injured not her ankle, but her head, but the main character only asks if she is really pretty. Of course, Kyle is much more beautiful, and she, as it seems to her, is not ugly. The guy then just turns away and says that since she's so badly hurt, they should call a doctor from the palace. Kim Gyum Ja replies that everything is fine, and she's just a guy working in the stables. The blonde claims that she is still his hostage until they reveal who she is, so the lady should be perfectly fine. The main character in shock asks if he is talking about this again, and she said that she is not like that. The guy also asks what happened to Kim Gyum. Ja the girl replies that this afternoon, Diep suddenly reared up and started running away. She tried to catch him, and he, probably recognizing the one who was feeding him, rushed towards her as if he was going to pounce and plunge her into eternal sleep. The blonde guy says that's why the lady asked to be saved. He also claims that people who feed you don't jump on you and want to put you to sleep. But in any case, it's good that only the ankle was injured, to which the lady replies that yes, and he adds that she was saved by Benji. He grabbed her in time and threw her aside. The guy then remembers what he saw during the day and says that it seems that he and Benji have become very close. The main character, looking at his face, is shocked and thinks what kind of insanely unhappy, not languid look is this? If you ask where the golden mean is between languid and attractive, this will be her answer. The blonde claims that he is starting to develop an immunity to everything she says, and the main character asks if she can continue. If this is so, to which the guys answer that she should forget, because it meant something completely different. Kyle gets up and tells the lady to do this, at least less often, because she understands how uncomfortable it is for him when during a meal, someone in his head starts talking about the golden mean between languid and attractive. The main character claims that she didn't think that he was hearing her voice and thought that he was hearing it from somewhere outside and not feeling it in his head. At this time, the guy asks if all this was true and if he didn't dream anything. Kim Gyum Ja asks if he can give an example of what he heard, but the blonde only becomes embarrassed and then says that it doesn't matter. The main character tells him to speak louder and asks what he said, after which the guy cries out in embarrassment that she said that she loves him and also said that he is handsome several times a day. The lady is also embarrassed by such words, but then puts her hand on her chest and asserts that everything is exactly like that. This is the real truth. The blonde then looks away and claims that Diep is his horse, so he takes full responsibility. The main character then wonders if he will really give it to someone, and also says that it is not necessary, because Diep is mostly unkind, but sometimes he can be friendly, and unless Diep is his horse, because all the others belong to him too. Therefore, the lady asks not to give him away. The main character also understands that in fact, if he will reduce the number of horses in this way, then in addition to the feeling of affection, she is afraid that his rating in the palace may also be greatly reduced, and the girl thinks how this rating system annoys her. Kyle claims that this is true, and he will sort everything out, and Diep is probably upset too. He is upset that the lady could not catch up with him because she does not know how to ride a horse, or now at least once a day he will come and teach her how to ride. The main character immediately jumps up from her seat and screams if this is true and if he will come there every day. The guy replies that the horses might get upset, so he will go out. Kim Gaim Ja suggests that he not say that it is not because of her, and since she suffered, he is worried that something else might happen. When the main character looks at the guy, she thinks why he is so embarrassed, because it is incredibly cute. He's just adorable from the front and from behind. And isn't that candy? So she wants to put the guy in her mouth and lick him. Kyle claims that he hears everything, so don't say anything too embarrassing. Well, at that very moment, the main character sees a star falling in the sky. She turns to His Highness and claims that there is a starfall. The guy asks her what she's talking about, and then says that her Naka could get hurt. But the main character says that it is a meteor shower, so let him make a wish quickly. At this time, the young man remembers how his sister said that it doesn't matter that the city is yellow, but it is still just a blue star of Bilteon. At this time, the main character is mentally asking Rick to stop feeding her potatoes and let their regular diet become meat. Let Kyle be happy and let him enjoy the love that comes his way in the most shameless way. But the young man claims that the stars are useless. Kim Guillaume-Ja turns to him for a moment and asks what he is talking about. And the guy claims that the stars are pathetic remnants of daylight and they can never become the sun, and also coexist with the sun, and they can't. The moon heroine then takes the guy by the hand and claims that it upsets her to hear such things about the stars. Let him just think about the fact that no matter how brightly the sun shines, people make wishes to the stars. The stars are a symbol of hope. The guy then just keeps silent and looks at the lady. Well, then suddenly he gets embarrassed and quickly turns away. The main character turns to his embassy and asks if he is really cold and his eyes are hurting. She also suggests that the wind is probably too strong there. The blonde guy asks something at this time, but the main character does not hear him and wonders what he just said. The guy repeats the question whether she really likes him, but the main character only gets angry and wonders if he is seriously asking if she likes me. This is starting to anger her. The lady is thinking, hasn't he been listening to this for a whole month now? The girl grabs the guy and turns him towards her and also tells him to look at her. Kim Guillaume-Ja understands that she really wanted to make this poor guy happy, and even if she can't change the future, he should at least know that she loves him. At least he shouldn't be lonely. That's what she was always thinking about. Well, now he's asking her if she really likes him. More importantly, he claims that he asked a question and wondered why the lady was not answering. And she realized that just looking at his face gave her goosebumps. At this time, the guy claims that she has become quiet and asks if she is really thinking about something again. But the main character grabs his face and claims that she will say it directly without any intermediaries. The girl claims that Kyle is the best for her, and only he is truly the best. A little while later, a butler named Pell, who is the most important among all the ears of His Highness. He understands that His Highness has been acting very strangely lately. At one point, the blonde turns to the butler and also asks what kind of person he thinks he is. The butler understands that he is the kind who is capable of shamelessly rejecting the heart of a little boy, an unfortunate prince who suffers because of the emperor-empress brothers and sisters and mercenaries. This guy is cold-blooded, and the butler realizes that he has a lot he wants to say, but he receives a salary from His Highness, so he cannot say anything else. Besides, His Highness is of course perfect. The guy is surprised by this and asks if Pell thinks so too. The man wonders what this gentleman is talking about, and the blonde man claims that of course he is. He doesn't consider himself just a handsome guy. The butler thinks what he's talking about, and the guy asks, should he wash his face with something like rose water or try styling his hair before bed? The butler understands that his master has indeed gone today. He began to behave strangely from the moment when the meteor shower passed a few days ago. When the man saw that His Highness was lying on the floor, he immediately cried out to him, asking if he was okay. The guy answered that he was okay. The man asked where the gentleman had gone so late at night and without Benji, to which the guy replied that he had gone to the stables for a short while. Pell asked how His Highness could be okay when his whole face was red, and now the man understands that since then His Highness continues to be in this state. The butler asks the gentleman what is happening to him and whether something really happened while he was in the stable. At this time, the guy remembers how the lady claimed that the stars are a symbol of hope and becomes embarrassed. The blonde also asks Pal what he usually thinks about when he looks at the stars, but the butler asks if it is really night now, after which the guy claims that he is talking about the campaign as nonsense and asks Pal to forgive him. The guy claims that he needs to go to the stables, but he's been around enough today that he can take a rest. The man asks if he is really going to the stables and claims that this cannot be because he is really going there for Joe. However, His Highness is already leaving the room, and Pell wonders if this little guy really told His Highness that he is ugly. And so, he suddenly began to take care of his appearance. A little while later, the main character is working in the stable again. She realizes that her ankle has fully recovered, and she has started doing physical work again, but it is getting colder every day. If we talk about changes, then from that night, when Kyle left the stable in a hurry, they began to say that he began visiting the stable as if on schedule. When the girl turns around, she sees her favorite on a horse and understands that now she really wants to work. And of course, Benji kept running into the stable to ask if her ankle was okay and if she was hurt. The guy claims that the lady needs to rest more and asks why she is doing this. Well, the main character claims that now she doesn't care about anything and let him just look at how she can move her leg. But the guy asks if she didn't say that she likes His Highness, to which the main character replies that of course she does, and she likes him madly. Benji claims that usually noble girls do not brag about their strength to the guy they like. But the main character asks if she won't die of hunger if she lives like a noble woman when she has no connections, and her charm is in her vitality. Benji says that's it, and at that very moment, His Highness passes between them. He approaches Joe and claims that he has to go somewhere, so he won't be able to come to the stables for a while. Kim Geum Ja understands that, of course, when he is a prince, he is always very busy, and also wonders where he is going. The guy then says, a little dejectedly, that he is going to Hestine. Kim Geum Ja asks if that is really the case, but she can't remember where it was, and she definitely saw this name in the novel, but she doesn't remember, and it seems like it was just a glimpse. The girl then asks His Highness what this place is known for. The guy replies that it is famous for its silk, and also asks if the lady really brought something. To something she answers that no, well, she understands that they will remember that in the novel, there was something important connected with silk. There was a rare type of ore that could not be taken out of the area where it was mined. The main character of the novel was named Isaka, who was a black-eyed prince. He brought this ore to Bilteon, succeeded in trading, and announced his existence, which helped him take the throne. Orb Sidel, a black and shining ore, was exactly the same color as his eyes. It seemed that the name of those territories was similar to the name of this ore, after which the girl begins to say something similar to her brother in Korean, and the blonde just gets embarrassed and claims that if she suddenly wanted to call him older brother, it won't work. The main character is shocked and asks why she calls the prince her older brother, and of course, if the guy is handsome, then they call him Appa. The guy replies that it is not the case, and she was just trying to say something like that. But in any case, let her take care of the horses. His Highness also turns to Benji and states that he is going with him. But the main character asks if he is also going, and the guy claims that it is natural that he should go accompanied by a knightly guard. Well, he also understands that these two seem very close, so he can't leave them alone. But at that very moment he notices the lady looking at him. The main character turns to His Highness and claims that he says so. But in reality, he's going with someone he hates, and he's just embarrassed to ask her to go with him. Kim Geum Ja realizes that her intuition works so well that at the company where she used to work, she had the nickname Kim Intuition. The main character now asks if she is right, but the guy turns around and says that it is time to do some trading, so he suggests that Benji go. Kim Geum Ja realizes that he seems embarrassed because she hit the nail on the head and it's so cute. After which the ladies wish them a good trip. Several days have passed since Kyle and Benji left. The main character sighs and says that it is so empty there. Besides the fact that she was waiting for the prince to return, she had many other important things to do. Since she was very busy, time passed quickly, but she could not do anything about the emptiness in her soul. The lady wondered if the stables and fields were always so spacious. But at that very moment someone turned to the girl, and when the main character saw this guy, she immediately screamed out who he was. But the young man only asked if she worked there. Kim Gyum-ja answers yes and asks what happened. The boy then claims that his brother comes there for some reason, and the main character understands that if you take a closer look at this guy, his beauty is no joke, and a wonderful future awaits him. The girl also asks if he has a brother, because if so, who is he? The lady understands that after Kyle left, the servants began to come to her to chat. The lady claims that she has learned the names of almost everyone who works there, and asks the boy to say whose he is. But the young man tells the guy to stop talking. What will happen if he finds out? The main character gets angry about this, and the guy claims that instead he wants to ride a horse, and the main character thinks that maybe it's worth it to hit him once. However, she understands that she needs to be patient because she has the image of a merry fellow. And you need to think about something good, like your beloved Kyle. The boy asks at this time, what is the guy thinking about? And can't he hear him? Because he wants to ride a horse. A little while later, the main character asks the boy if he even knows how to ride a horse, to which he replies that of course, and wonders if this guy even knows who he is. Kim Gyum-ja says that this is great, because the horses haven't run for several days, so she doesn't start to worry. She is impressed that the guy can ride a horse, after which the lady asks what his name is. The young man replies that his name is Theo, and the main character says that this is great and also invites him to go inside. And even though it smells like manure there, if you get used to it, there is no problem with it. The girl shows the horses and calls each one by name. Then she shows Dieppe. The lady claims that she doesn't know much about prices, but Dieppe is the most expensive horse, and he also has the most unpleasant character. At this time, Theo asks what about his interlocutor, and the main character wonders if he is asking if she has a bad character, to which the guy replies that she does not, and he asks what the guy's name is. The main character tells him to just call her by her first name because her name is Joe. Well then, the girl understands that she and Rick were constantly joking and laughing. But is it possible to behave the same way with children? The young man turns away at this point and says that of course, and he will also simply call him Joe. Kim Gyum-ja wonders if it really worked, and even though this boy is a delay, a child is a child. The girl understands that it is very cute and pats the boy on the head. The guys say that it seems that Joe has not been working there for very long, and the main character replies that it has not been 2 months yet. The lady also wonders why he asks, and the young man replies that it is because no one there is allowed to touch his hair. At that very moment, some maids scream out to His Highness and look for him. One of them claims that it is not there where she was looking, and the other one says that it is also not visible on the side where she was supposed to check. The woman claims that if he catches the eye of Miss Priscilla, then what will happen? But at that very moment, one of the maids sees His Highness. This guy is also known as the Underprince. He is Kyle's younger brother, born to Priscilla. Since he is the 5th in line, he is far down the line of succession. And what's more important, he's not red-eyed. His position in the palace is below the baseboard. He was even given such a humiliating nickname as a failed prince, and the only person who showed interest in him was Kyle. When the boy looked into his brother's office, the blonde insisted that everything was fine, and Theodore could come in. The boy then went to his brother's office and asked if he was still studying, to which he replied that only after finishing the academy could he take lessons on succession to the throne. Although Theo was small, he already understood perfectly well what situation he and his older brother were in. No matter how hard they tried, no one would notice anything. And although those above Kyle Paranagua occasionally laughed at him, the boy never stopped learning. Theo was very fascinated by his older brother, and one day the young man ran towards him with a chess board. The boy ran into his brother's room and claimed that they had not played chess for a long time, so he suggested playing. Well, the blonde apologized and claimed that he had to go somewhere so they could play later. And from that moment on, there was no place for Theo next to his brother. The next day, the boy claimed that he had to go somewhere again. And whenever the boy came, his brother was always busy. The young man realized that lately he had the feeling that his brother had betrayed him. Even when they were together, it seemed that he was mentally somewhere far away, and before leaving for Hestein, he didn't even come to personally say goodbye to him. Well, when the young man was walking down the corridor, he heard several maids gossiping among themselves. One of them claimed that she was talking about His Highness Kayla and asked if he seemed a little strange. The other maid replied that he did, and that he was getting stranger every day. Paul said he was always busy with something at the stables. The lady interlocutor said, "That's true. After all, as soon as all the work at home is finished, he's already somewhere in the stables, just like Mr. Bungie." After this, the young man thought about the stable and did not understand that this could not be, and that his brother really liked horses. Every time he went to the stables, his brother looked extremely agitated, but he like a fool did not notice anything, and the young man enthusiastically thought that his brother should wait until he returned. Then he will already become a master in horse riding. And then one day, Theo went to the stable. Now the young man cries out that it is already late and asks if Joe even knows what time it is. The main character only remains silent in response to this, and claims that it is 8 o'clock in the morning and wonders if he really came to see her today. The young man cries out why he should see her, and of course, he came to the horses. Well, the main character understands that this guy has firmly settled there. The young man at this time claims that it is enough and offers to bring him Rinji because he is going to ride her. Well, at that very moment, Kim Guillaume-ja hits him on the forehead and claims that they first need to correct his commanding tone. How dare such a mere boy talk like that to someone who is much older than him? The lady claims that she feels uncomfortable because it reminds her of the way her boss spoke to her. At this time, the young man wonders if she is talking about the boss and asks who he is. The guy also asks if anyone else came there and if she has a close relationship with someone. The main character understands that if you look at it like this, then after Theo started coming, the others stopped looking there. Apart from the time they ate, they couldn't even say hello to her. One day, the boy screamed that if the nanny found out that he was coming, there everyone would be fired. The girl understands that lately this is their typical morning, and probably everyone is busy. But at that very moment, the lady is taken out of her thoughts by Theo, who once again asks who the boss is. The main character thinks for a moment and claims that this is her boss with whom she used to work. The guy claims that she is some kind of bad person because he was told that you can't talk to your subjects in such a manner. Kim Guillaume-ja replies that this is true because you have to treat them with love. But she also wondered who taught this boy. After all, he is a commoner, but the guy asked if she was really saying that he was just a person. To which the girl replied that neither she nor he had a last name. She was just Joe, and he was just Theo. The guy next to him wants to object, but stops and yells at Joe to think about it later. And now it doesn't matter, because he just wants to ride Rinji. The young man screams once again for Rinji to be brought to him. And the main character already covers her ears from this. She sighs and claims that just because it's him, she'll take the guy for a ride. But if the prince finds out about it, she's done for. After this, the guy tells her not to be afraid and to hurry up. But the main character thinks that this boy is so small and already so manipulative, so she can't even imagine what will happen when he grows up. The girl takes one of the horses and claims that Theo has come to see her again. Well then, the main character thinks that she has a feeling that they forgot something important. At this time, a young man with black hair turns to Dolores and tells her to look, because there really is a palace there. But the girl tells him not to fuss, because when they enter the palace, those who hate him will be extremely surprised. And now, it's really the beginning. So let Isaka control himself. When the main character is giving the boy a ride, she hears someone screaming at His Highness and asking where he is. The girl turns to Theo and claims that the prince who looked like him has disappeared somewhere, to which the boy replies that yes, it looks like that. The lady then claims that she misses His Highness Kyle so much, Theo asks if he says he misses her. But Joe is not the type to meet him whenever he wants anyway. The girl claims that he simply does not know that they are spiritually connected with His Highness. The young man wonders if she is talking about herself and His Highness Kayla. The girl replies that of course, and the guy asks if they both really think so. The lady replies that this is exactly how it is, because His Highness's face always turns red when he stands right in front of her. But the main character understands that in fact, she thinks he is blushing because he is embarrassed by her annoying thoughts. The young man remains silent for a while after this and claims that all this time he rejected any rumors about the wedding. Well, it turns out his preferences are like this. Kim Gyum-ja asks what he's talking about. Well, and then she realizes that she is now posing as a man. And now, even if she says that it was a joke, it won't work. The girl is already mentally turning to Kyle and asserting that there will always be various rumors about him since he occupies a high position in society. The blonde man at this time claims that he again feels that Joe is doing something irresponsible. Theo at this time turns to Joe and claims that he thought that His Highness suddenly liked the horses and therefore began coming to the stables. Well, if he came to see Joe, then it's a little strange. And although he is also interested in spending time with him, but if you look at it from the other side, then he doesn't even know. The girl claims that this is all adult business. And the guy says that no matter how much he looks at him, Joe looks like some kind of uncle. So he wonders why His Highness needs someone like him. The main character claims that if he calls him uncle again, she will slap the horse on the butt, and it will throw the guy off. The young man then jumps off his horse and states that he needs time to think, so that's all for today. After which, the boy runs away, and the main character does not understand what happened. At this time, the young man is wondering if his brother is really dating Joe Vinny's brother, if there really is such a connection between them. 2 days later, the young man already screams that he will support them. The main character asks in what, and the guy replies that he thinks Joe will be able to protect His Highness because he is strong. And it works well, even though His Highness is also strong. Well, and he thought that they seemed to look good together. The main character hugs the guy at the same moment, and the young man screams, "What the hell is this?" The girl picks him up and says that the boy is so cute. Theo tells Joe to stop because he remembers his suit, but the girl tells him to go home and ask his mother to change. After all, looking at the way he rides, it seems to her that the young man is not from a poor family. Well, after this, the guy asks if she doesn't know how scary his mother is, but the girl replies that he says he's afraid of his mother, but there's nothing he can do about it because they don't choose their mother. There was no one who didn't know Yi Yeon-suk from Gwangbok-dong. At this time, Mari asks what form her mother's name is in. The young man also claims that his mother is a busy person and does not have time to change his clothes. Although she wasn't like that before, the main character says that he just didn't understand everything correctly, because for parents, there is nothing more important than their children. The guy claims that his mother hasn't spoken to him at all for a long time. Orbon is much more important to her than him, and what ore can be brought from there. If you make a ball out of it, it will be much more durable. The girl strokes the boy's head again and understands that he has a lot of worries. Well then, the girl thinks about Orbon and realizes that she thinks she has heard a lot about it somewhere. The main character then realizes the whole situation and realizes that Orb Seidel is a sparkling black ore. Weapons forged from metal found in Orbon are considered the strongest. That is why there were rumors that the owner of this palace would be the owner of Orbsidal, although no one imagined that his water would end up in the Black-Eyed Plus, whose existence no one suspected. He was the first to take possession of the ore and secured the support of the strongest Orbon. The main character then grabs Theo and asks if the Black-Eyed Prince has arrived at the palace. The guy claims that it seems the rumors have even reached there, and in any case, he will soon be dead. Kim Ja asks what he is talking about and why he thinks that this man will fall into eternal sleep, to which the young man replies that all those whose eye color is different are plunged into eternal sleep, and he too does not know when to plunge into eternal sleep. Ja asks why he speaks like that, and what difference does it make what color his eyes are, and the guy replies that she is dating His Highness Kyle. So it seems that Joe really doesn't care about the color of his eyes. When the main character looks at this guy, she is surprised. She realizes that his expression reminds her of someone. The young man at this time claims that they say the Black-Eyed Prince is the child of Her Majesty Empress Luigi Anne. When he arrived, he brought with him a scarlet badge with a hawk on it, and although His Majesty did not seem to show much interest in it, he also asked if the guy was his son, to which the young man enthusiastically replied that he was. The man also said that he looked a lot like Luigi and damn. I was expecting His Majesty to tell me that meeting him was a great honor for him. And the Emperor claimed that how the guy proudly holds his sword right in front of the Emperor also reminds him of her. The young man here claims that he got it from her. This sword was given to Luigi Anne by the Emperor. There were those who believed that black was not a suitable color as a gift for the Empress. Well, her hometown, located on the peninsula, is famous for its iron ore, and considering the fact that she was good at fencing, the gift was chosen extremely well. The man with a smile on his face claims that it seems the guy really is her son. A little while later, one of the maids asked another if she had heard about it, since they said that this black-eyed youth was a relative of the Empress. And even the Emperor admitted it. The lady with the blonde hair was looking out the window at that time, and also said that Isaka made a good start at the Alvanis estate. Born the eldest daughter of Deloa, she spent her entire life preparing to become the mistress there for 16 long years. However, since there was harmony and love in their family, they had a late child who turned out to be a son. He took her place as heir to the estate, father, mother, and even the land. All that seemed to belong to her all her life. Tired of all this, Deloa prepared to go abroad to study, and then one fine day, having met an old woman who had fallen on the street, Deloa met her son. When the girl was sitting next to the woman, some guy ran into the room and screamed at his mother. Well, after which, he saw the girl. His mother at that time turned to Isaka and even called him His Highness. The woman said that the guy listened attentively to everything she was about to tell him. Before she fell into eternal sleep, the old woman told all her secrets, right in Deloa's presence. That Isaka is actually a prince, born from Emperor Biltion and Empress Luigi Anne. She took care of young Isaka at the request of the Empress, and also said that she was a simple maid. The woman said that His Highness should come to the palace for a temperature, and he would definitely recognize him. After which, she breathed her last. The young man then asked what it all meant. The guy also asked if he was a prince, because if so, then that was some kind of nonsense. But the girl who stood aside claimed that now there was a high probability that the prince would fall into eternal sleep even before he reached the palace. Once the maid has fallen into eternal sleep, it will be difficult to prove that he is a member of the Imperial family, and he may be sentenced to death for posing as a member right from where the gate is. It is likely that living in such a tiny province, while hiding the truth, will also be extremely difficult. After all, she found out about everything. The young man cried out after that. Was she really threatening him? And the lady claimed that he could either sleep forever in poverty or be an emperor. He faced the most important choice of his life. So let Isaka promise to make her empress, because then she will help him become emperor. In the end, Isaka accepted this offer, and the guy who lived all this time without even suspecting that he was a prince. She taught him everything like a real specialist, and then they headed to the capital together. When the maid saw the guy out, she addressed him as His Highness, and the young man understood that it seemed to him that he would never get used to being called that. When he was little, and they were barely making ends meet, he considered the people living in shining palaces to be gods. He thought that this was a completely different life that did not concern him in any way. Well, after which the young man enters the room, and there he is greeted by Deloa. The girl claims that it seems the entire palace is buzzing with the story of the new prince. The young man asked if they were talking about the fact that he was recognized as a son. Well, the girl tells His Highness that if his goal was to be recognized as a prince, it might have been much better if instead of getting there, he had simply hidden in the village. Since he has come this far, he simply has to live, and he will become an emperor. But compared to what he has already gone through, the path ahead is much more winding. Well, at that very moment, someone runs into the room, and the guy, surprised by this, even rises up. The woman, all out of breath, looks at the guy, and he asks who she is. The woman replies that her name is Luigi Anne, and she is the third empress, and also his real mother. The lady asks, with tears in her eyes, if this is really Isaka, after which she hugs the guy and also says that he survived. The woman says that thank God her son grew up healthy. The empress hugged Isaka and cried for a long time. Well, for some reason, the guy didn't feel such strong love from her. A little while later, Deloa handed the woman a handkerchief, and she thanked her. She also asked if the girl said that she was from the Alvinus clan, and if Isaka was alone. It would have been hard for him to get there. The blonde then said, "What was Her Majesty saying?" Because it was an honor for her to bring His Highness to the palace. No matter how far they are from each other, family remains family. The woman then asked if she was talking about family, and the lady claimed that her great-grandmother's name was Herberta Sal Terrason. At that time, there was an active Armenian movement between the peninsula and the empire. She is proud that despite her family's modest status, they have a blood connection with Princess K. Terrason. The memory of her great-grandmother is always with her. At this time, Isaac was shocked and thought that this was something he had never heard a word about before. His mother said, "That's it," after which the blonde, with a smile on her face, claimed that although they had a lot of land, it couldn't be cultivated because the soil was predominantly scarlet. She heard that the reason the land was named Allah was because the newly minted emperor decided to visit them as part of his tour of his territories. But this was a completely meaningless event taking place in distant territories, and the emperor was simply pretending. Meanwhile, the war with Alektamon broke out, and various events began to be cancelled in the palace. Since then, their land is a small area where the indigenous population lives, and the area is not large, but ferrous metallurgy is quite developed in these territories. The woman then claimed that their Ilan was from the lands that were located next to them. The lady with the blonde hair smiled after this and insisted that they had to survive somehow. Alvinus doesn't give up, and it sounds a bit harsh, but that's what her family says. The lady also turns to Isaac and thanks him for staying alive and for being by her side again. The woman then takes the guy by the hand and claims that no matter what she says now, it will all sound like an excuse. However, it was the best decision she could make to ensure that he survived. In fact, Isaka wanted to say a lot about that woman. For example, why did she leave him? And if she decided to leave, then let her leave. And why did she have to give him proof so that he could return? And also why, when he found her, she didn't tell him to run away again. However, the guy could not utter a word, leaving all these questions hanging like a heavy burden on his heart. A little while later, when the guy was heading down the corridor, someone turned to him and said that His Highness had tried well, so let him try to continue to say only what was necessary. The guy understood that it was Deloa. He turned to the girl and claimed that everything else was unimportant, but asked, could she just call him by his name, as she had before? The lady put her hand on the young man's face, which surprised him. Well, the girl claimed that if he wanted to continue to remain stupid, he should return to the back streets of Alvina's. And also, let him try to have a good rest today. The girl understands that everything is going according to plan. Well, the only problem is how well Isaka will play his role. And even though he doesn't have red eyes, if they can bring Orbon, they won't be able to not recognize him. After some time, Prince Isaka will appear to the people as the black-eyed prince who captured the Orbon deposit. Kyle must have felt so left out, seeing his younger brother and black-eyed being recognized by the people of their empire. Now the main character screams that she can't cry and that it's forbidden. The girl realizes that she completely forgot about it, and she did promise to make Kyle happy. It's amazing, but the lady completely lost these developments of the novel's plot while enjoying her talent for caring for horses. And she seems to be really stupid, so the girl thinks what to do if Kyle gets hurt again. How will she be able to look at the tears that will flow from his huge, beautiful eyes? At this time, Theo turns to Joe and asks what he is thinking about so seriously. The girl then turns to the guy and asks if his brother works somewhere there. To which he replied that yes, and the girl claimed that he seemed to be doing very important things since he could bring his family to the palace. And the girl asked how long he had been working there. Theo replied that it had been 20 years already, and the main character asked if it had really been that long. And if so, then he might have heard when His Highness Kyle would return. The guy replied that he had heard. And very soon the main character thinks that if Theo's brother works in the palace, then will he be able to go to Benji and give him something. The lady also took the young man by the hand and claimed that she had a request for him. The girl told him to tell Minister Benji from the administration that he should definitely drop in to see her as soon as he returned to the palace. The guy after Togo asks if he is talking about Benji and already begins to imagine all sorts of obscenities. At this time, the girl tells him to tell her that she really needs Benji. Theo wonders if Joe is talking about Benji, but he definitely heard that Joe is dating his brother. And the young man wonders if he is really acting on two cams, after which the guy turns to Joe and also screams, how can he do this? The main character asks what he is talking about. The young man, they say that he is talking about his brother, and if Joe is dating His Highness, then why should he see Benji? The main character realizes that it was like she was playing on two fronts, after which the lady starts thinking about how to get out of it, and a little while later finds a suitable excuse. Joe claims he simply misspoke and doesn't want to see anyone other than His Highness. It's Josephine who's looking for Benji, not him. The young man then asks who Josephine is, and the main character replies that she is his sister and they are twins. This girl works in another place. The young man wonders if this is true, but claims that he is hearing about it for the first time, to which people respond that of course it does exist. If he tells Benji this name, he will understand everything because they are very close. The main character understands that if you think about it, she spent a lot of time with Benji before she cut her hair. At this time, Theo asks why Josephine is looking for Benji. Kim Gyum. Ja thinks about it, and she ponders what she should come up with this time. The girl understands that probably if she continues to be so unconvincing now, Theo will continue to suspect something. Kim Gyum. Ja understands that she should have developed her creative inclinations when she was little. Josephine and Mr. Benji are actually dating. The knight at this time claims that he suddenly felt goosebumps. Theo at this time wonders if Joe is really talking, that his sister Josephine and Mr. Bungie are dating, and Joe is dating His Highness Kyle. The main character replies that it is something like that, but then corrects herself and claims that everything is exactly like that. Kim Gyum. Ja realizes that she has a feeling that everything is approaching the climax and wonders if the guy noticed something. The young man at this time asks how they managed being ordinary workers in the palace to get the nobleman Benji and even His Highness. The guy also understands that if Her Majesty finds out about this, Joe will be in danger. The main character looking at the guy wonders if he really believed this, after which she turns to him. but the boy is just wondering if anyone else knows about it. Kim Gyum. Ja looks at the boy and thinks how cute he is. After which, she strokes the guy on the head and says that no one except the chick knows. Theo asks if Joe really called him the tip, and the main character replies that she just had a bird that she looked after and its name was Chick. The young man asks if she shares secrets with animals, and the girl replies that of course she does. After all, people can't be trusted with such important secrets. But at that very moment, the guy hits the lady on the leg, and she screams. The girl understands that it seems he has such a strange hobby as kicking people, but the guy claims that she just told him everything, or that her mouth acts on its own. Kim Gyum Ja claims that it is because she trusts Theo and asks him not to tell anyone about this. The young man is a little embarrassed after this and says that it's fine, and the main character sighs and realizes that it seems she's figured it out. Several months later, Kyle returns to the palace and realizes that it seems a lot has happened while he was gone. Among the Empress's children, there were several who were not born with red eyes, and according to rumors, he heard some of them were in hiding. But to show up at the palace so cold-bloodedly, you have to be a daredevil, and it's completely obvious what the mother's reaction to this will be. At that moment, someone bursts into the guy's office and addresses him. Kyle says that the guy scared him and also asks what happened, but the boy just hits the table and screams, asking if his brother really has such a connection with Joe. The blonde wonders if the guy is talking about Joe and wonders how Theodore found out about Joe. Theo claims that he is talking about a guy who works in a stable, and he is white-haired, and also a kind guy who knows that he is quite handsome. Kyle at this time is thinking about his connection with Joe and doesn't even know what to answer. His brother at this time claims that this guy is just a little taller than him, so he dares to be rude to him, and he is also ignorant, but it's funny. His Highness says that it is excellent and wishes them a good time, but his brother claims that is not what he meant. He once again wonders if his brother is really in such a relationship with Joe. Theo shakes his brother and asks if this is true and if Joe lied to him. Well, when the blonde doesn't answer, his brother asks if this is true. His Highness answers, confused, that he misunderstood a little Theo. However, claims that Her Majesty will definitely be furious, and he is a prince. And besides, Joe is a commoner and a man at that. Vanina turns to her brother and asks if that's true. At that moment, Kyle remembered a fact that had completely flown out of his head because he was stunned. He understands that this is a girl pretending to be a guy and is shocked. Although if you look at how easily she pulls this huge cart, it will not be easy to think of her as a woman. Theo at this time tells his brother to come to his senses because he is the first prince. Not only is Her Majesty now worried about this black-eyed prince, but if her brother is like that, then what should they do? It will be the end of my brother if Her Majesty catches him, and no one knows how far she might send Joe. Besides, Joe, without thinking about it at all, says left and right how much he misses him. Kyle understands that she says that she misses him, and wonders why she even said that to a child. According to Theodore, if your absurd rumors reach the ears of his mother, then Joe will probably not be exiled, but simply plunged into eternal sleep. Therefore, he claims that it seems that there was some misunderstanding because they are not dating, and nothing like that is happening, so let the guy not tell anyone anything. The young man asks if this is true, and claims that Joe just talked nonsense. But he also said that his older sister is dating Benji, so it's clear that he decided to just raise his self-esteem. At the same moment they said something like this. He enters the room and wishes His Highness a good evening. He also asks who he is meeting there. Theodore replies that he is meeting Josephine, and wonders if that is not Joe's older sister. The young man also says that the Duke will be very upset when he finds out that the knight has fallen in love with a commoner. Kyle at this time asks if Josephine and Benji are dating, but Theo wonders if his brother didn't know. And also, didn't Joe tell that his sister is dating Benji? Kyle is shocked at the same moment, and he cries out, "Did Joe really say that?" Well, the young man asks Did his brother really not know? And also, didn't Joe tell him that Josephine and Benji are in a relationship and that he himself is dating his brother? Benji immediately screams, "Is Joe really meeting with His Highness?" Well, the boy just turns around and asks why they are both so noisy. However, the two are at a loss. A little while later, Theo tells his brother to tell Joe something sobering anyway. After all, it seems that he is seriously mistaken, suddenly crawling towards him with hugs because he thinks he is cute. Kyle asks what this guy is talking about, and he claims that it's probably because he doesn't know he's a prince. And he also thinks that Joe is a good guy, and he can certainly tolerate this a little, but in reality, it doesn't spoil his mood. The blonde understands that everything is clear, and while he was gone, it seems the girl got closer to Theodore. Well, this happened in such a short period of time, and if this is really so, then he can lose her. Theo. At this time, he claims that this is the first time a person hugged him like that, and he doesn't even know, even though he doesn't like it when people treat him like a child. The boy turns to his brother and asks if he too would not like it if Joe treated him like a child. Well, when Theo looks at his brother and asks what happened, he remains silent. The blonde only smiles in response to this, after which he asks Theodore, are they the same thing since he's dating Joe and his brother isn't? Theo is confused by these words. Kyle claims that this is true because they are in a loving relationship and his brother and Joe are just friends. So how can they be on the same level with him? Theo claims that his brother just denied it, and the guy replies that it was because he was afraid that his Joe would be in danger. Theo knows their mother's character well. Benji is interrupted by His Highness at this time, and he asks if they should send the silk and wine that they gave him in Highstein to Her Majesty. The guy replies that he will give it to her himself. And at this time, Theo remembers something and turns to Benji. He claims that Josephine asked him to give him something. The guy asks if it is really for him, and the young man claims that she said that Benji would definitely come at night. Kyle is watching all this at this time, and Theo claims that if his brother is going to see Her Majesty, then he should hurry. But the blonde replies that no, because only at night. Theo claims that Benji needs to deal with matters related to returning from Heston. And why would my brother date Josephine when he's dating Joe? But the blonde only asks once again whether she has already invited him tonight, after which he turns around and says that Theo is right. The young man at this time also asks his brother if he and Joe have ever hugged. After all, every time he comes, Joe climbs up to him with a terribly happy face and hugs him. These two, hearing this, are terribly jealous, and the young man claims that the lady says that he is small and cute and almost kisses him, and he constantly strokes his head. The blonde claims that Joe confesses to him every day. But before he can finish, Benji suggests that His Highness go quietly. However, the blonde screams that Joe told him that he wants to always carry him with him in his pocket. Benji realizes that he just wants to get out of there, but Theo decides to irritate his brother and asks him if Joe told him that too. The blonde asks if he really told the guy this himself, to which he replies, of course. And he remembers how the lady said that the young man was so tiny that he could fit in a pocket. Theo also asks his brother if Joe personally didn't tell him anything like that. The guy replies that of course he heard this from him personally. And Theo claims that it seems that Joe does not have any special feelings for his brother, judging by the fact that he told him all the same things, or maybe he likes him as much as his brother. The blonde screams that everything is not so at all because he is talking about it. Benji turns to His Highness a little worriedly, after which the blonde wonders why he is so angry now. Is it because Joe, who seemed to be in love only with him, turned out to be saying similar things to Theodore? Or maybe it's because this insidious gray-haired disgusting pervert is also encroaching on his younger brother. After which the blonde asks his brother for forgiveness for being too loud. And when he gets to know Joe better, he will understand that he is a dangerous person. So let him be careful at first, too. Well, yes, he claims that if his brother never hugged him, then how did he understand that it was dangerous? The blonde replies that he knows everything. And let Theodore listen carefully, because Joe is a very cunning person. Well, the young man cries out that it doesn't matter, and that he still communicates with him closer than with his brother. Even though he sometimes acts like a grandfather, they are still close. The blonde wonders who this guy is so stubborn after, and Benji turns away and laughs, but at that very moment the two turn to him. A little while later, Theo claims that it turned out that these rumors about the relationship were nonsense, and he is sure that these two will soon break up, but he still won't tell anyone anything about his brother and Joe, and will also keep Benji's relationship with the commoner a secret. Well, at that very moment, the blonde hears the thoughts of the lady who says that she misses Kyle very much. The lady also wonders how it happened that even his name is too cute. The girl understands that she wants Kyle's beautiful face to always be before her eyes, and it was necessary that Kyle's ankle be injured, not hers, because then he would have to immediately take off his shoes and she would be able to at least look at his feet, and she doesn't want to do anything at all because she can't see his face. After which the blonde turns to his brother and claims that Joe loves him so much that seeing his face as he speaks is the joy of his whole life. He even likes his legs, and the guy can't even imagine what amazing confessions. Benji immediately closes His Highness's mouth and says, "That's enough." But the guy continues to listen to the voice of the main character, who asks if he can hear her voice. She also addresses Kyle, who is tired from a long journey, and claims that she misses him, and also claims that Kyle, who is always a little nervous, must be so attractive. Benji says that as he sees it, His Highness is very tired. The main character continues and claims that if Kyle has something to say to her, then let him come to the stable quickly, and also ask if his butt hurts too much from having to ride for a long time, because if it hurts, then what should he do? Because it is priceless. The girl also apologizes and claims that it would be great if it didn't fall out of her mouth, but in any case, let Kyle come to her at the stables, because she won't do anything strange. At the same moment, the boy bites Benji on the hand and screams to his brother that Joe is constantly thinking about him. But the young man asks how his brother can know about this and what exactly he thinks. The guy claims that he cannot tell him about this, and when his interlocutor asks why, he answers that minors cannot hear such things. And Joe, of course, always has a lot of strange thoughts, but he always thinks about him. Theo claims that it is in his brother's imagination, but the blonde claims that Joe wants to be reborn and become his lips. That's what this man is like. And besides his ass, well, also at that moment, Benji closes the gentleman's mouth and claims that now it's really necessary to stop. Theo then turns away and claims that this is enough, and he goes, Benji is happy and thinks that thank God. And when the young man opens the door, he tells his brother to be on the alert, because when he grows up, he will become more handsome than him. When the guy leaves, His Highness says that Benji can stop holding his mouth. Benji apologizes and removes his hand, and the blonde asks what these rumors are about him dating Josephine. Benji replies that he thinks he made it up on the spot because he was afraid of being caught. He also asks how it happened that he and Joe are dating, and the blondes answer that this is probably also his invention. And also, tomorrow Benji will go with him, to which he agrees. Kyle, you understand that if you think about it. Now he was too excited and acted very childishly. The main character at this time was sitting on the scene and thinking about her leg. The lady understands that she had to rethink and identify herself in the new world. While reading the novel, all the events seemed so grandiose, but even if something seemed so important to her in the novel, it was simply because the writer wanted it. Everything that happened in the castle was just a story about a very distant country. The lady also understands that she asked them to come, but wonders why there is no one. Well, at that very moment, someone says that this is where her legs have taken her, and wonders where she is at all. When the main character looks at this lady, she realizes that she has eyes that sparkle, like emerald and golden hair. Well, that's why the girl understands that it was Deloa Alvinus, the main character of the novel, that was the masterpiece of her whole life, who spoke to her. Deloa Alvinus is the man who with his coolness and wit pulled Isaka out of the dark corners and made him the emperor of an entire empire. She is the protagonist girl who shook up the fantasy world and drove all readers into despair. And now, this girl is standing right in front of her and smiling. The lady with the blonde hair greets, and she claims that she has poor vision at night, so she seems to have gotten lost and also looked like a color and went straight there. Kim Gyum Ja asks why the madam is walking alone without a single maid, and Deloa asks if the guy really knows her. The main character asks if she is not Miss Deloa Alvinis, because he has heard a lot about her. The girl wonders if the guy really came from Alvinis, and the main character screams that no, that she thinks the same thing, who stopped talking to her. Well, at that very moment, the lady takes her by the cheek and claims that everything is fine. In this post, the guy is not afraid and will tell her. The main character claims that she heard that the new prince arrived with a miss from Alvinis because it is being talked about everywhere. Kim Gyum-ja also thinks about what to do if Unni seduces her. Deloa claims that if a guy talks about a new prince, then rumors in the palace spread really quickly. Kim Gyum-ja says, "What can you do? It's a madam." Well, her interlocutor claims that this madam is also interesting. The main character at that very moment screams out how the lady knew that she was a girl. Deloa replies that anyone will understand. And are there really such fools who do not understand this because of short hair? Kim Gyum-ja replies that no one actually understands, and the woman claims that they are all fools. And from whatever side you look at it, the girl is very nice. Deloa is also interested in whether the lady cut her hair in order to get a job. The main character understands that, as she heard earlier, this lady is kind to those who are lower in status. Kim Gyum-ja also thinks what to do because she likes this girl so much. And this is exactly what the one who, as they say, remains an aristocrat looks like even when he hangs upside down from the back of a carriage. This is the kind of person who will not become an empress. Deloa asks how the lady is doing, and she replies that her name is Jo. The blonde asks if this is true, and the main character replies that it is, and suggests that the lady simply call her Jo. Deloa claims that this name sounds so sweet. The main character almost goes blind from this nobility, and she realizes that she wants this lady to stroke her head for the rest of her life. Well, then the girl realizes that she needs to come to her senses because she is the biggest threat to Kyle. Well, then Kim Gyum-ja wonders if this girl is really threatening him that much. Who cares if Isaka becomes emperor, and wouldn't Deloa just let him and Kyle escape if they helped her, where Alieva reigns Isaka as emperor? At this time, the blonde wonders if Jo will take her to a separate palace, since His Highness Isaka has still not been allowed to move into the main building. After which the girl agrees, and a little while later, she is already leading the lady. Kim Gyum-ja understands that in a few weeks, she will probably not be able to go to Orbon with Isaka, and the palace will no longer be needed, so she needs to tell Kyle to go to Orbon first before that. But still, neither Kyle nor Benji seem to be coming to her today, and everything will be fine if she quickly sees this lady off. At this time, the blonde turns to Jo and says that since he is holding the light, she can't see anything in front of her. The main character then asks if the lady really wants to carry the lamp herself, and at that very moment, she understands what she just said, and then he bows and apologizes. Kim Gyum-ja understands that it is rude to ask a noble lady to carry the lamp herself, but Deloa turns to Jo again and claims that she simply wanted to tell them to walk together. The main character answers that there is, and then they will go next to each other, but then people realize that this also sounds strange. Deloa pulls the girl towards him and says that everything is fine, so let her come to her, and let the lady tell her her story, and also how it happened that she had to dress as a man and start working in the stable. Kim Gyum Ja says it's a bit confusing about the blonde lady saying she's just bored. The girl realizes that for a moment her face surrounded by shadows, reflected in the light, looked very lonely, and she felt different from Deloa from the novel. At this time, the blonde asks if Joe will tell her his story, and the main character understands that in fact, everything she knows is about Deloa. This is a story from a novel, and the girl in the novel is presented only as an image of the person who made the plan for Prince Isaki's accession to the throne. The novel did not describe at all what she felt when she left her family and went to the capital. As a result, some readers noted that her cold side of character, allowing her to move towards her goals, made her even more attractive. But the main character understands that sometimes she wondered if this girl was lonely, and in the end, she began her story for Deloa. Of course, she didn't tell her everything, and described situations like what she did for Pell a little differently. When the girl finishes her story, she claims that she who lost her memory saved His Highness Kyle, and he took her to work in the palace as a thank you. Deloa asks why the girl then works in the palace, and in its farthest part. And the main character replies that this is all because there was no work in the palace for a woman who couldn't read, and so she dressed as a man and went to work in the stables. But if you are a man who also cannot read, there will still be work for you. Deloa realizes that this is true, and Kim Gyum-ja realizes that her story makes her believe that she really is an unfortunate girl who has lost her memory, and if she had such acting abilities by high school, she would have definitely dropped out. The lady with the blonde hair then takes Jo by the hand and offers to teach her to read. The main character is shocked by this and wonders why Miss Deloa is doing this to her, because for her, only Kyle exists. The lady with the blonde hair is looking for a twig at this time, and when he finds it, he begins to draw something on the ground with it, and also tells the lady to look there because she is about to write her name. The main character looking at this claims that her name looks like an earthworm, and Deloa smiles at this. The lady apologizes and claims that she is not laughing at Jo and was simply amused by her reaction. The main character looks at the girl and admires her, after which she even says that Miss is so beautiful. Well, then the girl claims that she doesn't know etiquette very well, and perhaps peasants shouldn't be told such things. The blonde replies that it's not that, and she was just a little surprised by the lady's strange expression. The main character replies that she is partial to beautiful faces, and her interlocutor asks if that is why she works in the palace of His Highness Kyle. The lady also claims that if Jo suddenly finds it hard to work in the stables, then how about working as a maid in His Highness Isaki's palace? Even though the work is not easy, it is still more uncomfortable than in the stables, and it would be great if they could see each other more often. Kim Gyum-ja thinks how sweet this lady is, and it seems to her that if they melt the sugar one piece at a time and then let the resulting caramel harden, then they will get Miss Deloa. Well, the girl still asks for forgiveness and claims that she thinks it's impossible. Deloa asks why, and the main character replies that it is because she is satisfied with everything. The blonde, after this summary on her face, says that that is it. A little while later, they are already approaching the palace, and Deloa thanks the girl for seeing her off and also states that she also needs to hurry back. The main character says that she listens to Madam and let her eat more of all sorts of goodies, and also thanks the lady for teaching her the letters, even though she couldn't remember everything. She has memory problems. But in any case, she is very grateful to her for the lesson. When the main character returns, she wonders if she made a mistake somewhere, but she couldn't even imagine that Deloa would offer her a job. Well, even though she is extremely sweet, her original goal was to make Kyle happy. Therefore, in the lady's thoughts, she wishes that he would laugh more often and enjoy life because she wants to make him her beloved person. To do this, you need to make sure that everything doesn't go according to the plot, and the girl thinks about whether Kyle should meet with Count Orbon before Isaka. Well, then the girl wonders what should happen next, according to the plot of the novel. At a social event, Isaka, who is ridiculed behind his back and has dark eyes, accidentally drinks a poisoned glass of wine. Even though everyone knew that Sienna had added the poison, Deloa was furious because she couldn't do anything about it. A few days later, Isaka approached Benji. Well, then the lady thinks, is this really wrong? And was there some other event between this, but she can't remember what it was. The lady also understands that she must have forgotten, because it was very insignificant. Well, the fifth prince was immersed in eternal sleep. In the Imperial palace, everyone sighed and hushed up the matter as quickly as possible. But in the novel, there was a scene where Isaka was shocked. The girl understands that she doesn't know the name of the fifth prince, and it seems that he has never appeared in the book before. Well, it seems like it won't be something important. But when these two come to the stable, she immediately needs to tell them to go to Orbon. The girl saw Deloa off and returned to the stables, but the night was approaching, and no one came. The next morning, the main character is walking around in a rage and wondering if this little brat, Theo, can't convey her request properly. It's probably because he's small, but she did ask him to pass something on to his brother. The boy says that he is already quite grown up, but in fact, he is still quite a child. At the same moment, someone greets Joe. The main character immediately turns around and screams, "Is this really Madam?" The lady with the blonde hair smiles and asks if Joe is feeling well this morning. Kim Gelm-ja then becomes embarrassed. She thinks that when she sees her in daylight, she realizes that she really is a beauty. At this time, the blonde turns to Joe, and the main character asks what is going on, but the lady replies that she is drooling. Kim Gelm-ja wipes it and claims that it is because of the strong influence of poisoning. It seems that winter is already near. Deloa says that everything is clear with Joe. Well, the main character claims that if Madame were a little less beautiful, she would also be more careful. Well, she is just perfect. Deloa smiles and claims that Joe is such a joker. Kim Gelm-ja asks if the lady thinks she's joking, and if no one has ever told her how beautiful she is. It seems like people like that have no eyes at all. Joe says that the lady is truly the most beautiful of all the people she has ever seen, and even much more beautiful than the character in any role-playing game. Well, when the blonde asks who this character is, the girl thinks that language is her enemy, after which she even claims that a long time ago, in the area where she lived, there was a clan called that. The people from this clan had no money, no status, and nothing at all, but they were all incredibly beautiful. That is why they became the standard of beauty, and people on its lands, every time they saw something beautiful, said among themselves that this person was like a character. Well, then the main character suggests the lady not to stand there and go inside. The blonde replies that no, and everything is fine because she came because she wanted to give something to Joe. After which the lady hands her a book, and the main character asks what it is. Deloa replies that it is a book of fairy tales, and she brought it to Joe because she said that she cannot read and is afraid that others might ignore her. Kim Gelm-ja immediately thanks the lady and cries out that she will treasure this like the apple of her eye. The blonde says that it is good, and she will drop by to see her again sometime. When the lady leaves, the girl realizes that Miss Deloa is just something. She has such a kind heart, such a kind voice, and also does not have a single flaw. The lady with the blonde hair at this time turns to her maid, and when you respond, then Deloa tells her to find out if this character really existed. The girl thinks how dare Joe lie to her, because she told her last time that she lost her memory, and she won't tolerate anyone putting even straws in her wheels. So it seems that she and Joe won't be friends, because she hates liars. A little while later, the main character's eating, and realizes that today they have steamed potatoes again. And so the uncle thinks when they will be given meat, let them use physical force after all. And if Deloa comes again and brings her a book, well, she has no idea what it's about. After all, no matter how you look at it for her, it's still like some kind of painting, and she doesn't understand at all what's written there. But Miss Deloa is completely different, and it seems that when she was just born, she already knew how to talk. Since they are all characters in a novel, no matter how hard she tries, she cannot address Kyle as you. But with Miss Deloa, it's different. At that very moment, someone approaches the lady from behind. and asks if she really has a book there. The main character only screams that Rick scared her and she can't be so silent. The man claims that if he had made noise, Joe would have been even more scared. So what a fool he is. The main character tells him to just admit that he is wrong, and also to look, because he is simply poking him with his age. The man then takes the book and asks if it really contains fairy tales, and if the guy is at the age to read such things. Kim Gyum Ja tells him to give the book back and asks why the man takes other people's things, but he says that there is no need to raise your voice at him because sometimes the guy forgets himself and treats his elders disrespectfully. The main character then says that Rick doesn't respect anyone at all and asks what's wrong with Togo. Well, the man claims that he's been groveling in front of that kid, covering him with blankets at night, so he doesn't freeze, and that's what he gets in response. Kim Gyum just says that of course he covers him, and how many times he almost fell into eternal sleep from frostbite. Rick asks if he really wants to sleep in the barn, but at that very moment the book slips out of his hands and then flies towards His Highness, falling on his face. These two hear sounds and turn in the direction from which he came. Rick, realizing the situation, immediately says that he has such a thing there. It's something urgent, so he has to go. Kim Gyum Ja thinks, what kind of Murphy's Law is this? And the blonde man, with a smile on his face, claims that it seems the lady is in a simply wonderful mood. The main character addresses His Highness and greets him, and also states that she is very glad to meet them. Kyle claims that she said that she had an emergency department there for them, and he didn't think he would get such a warm welcome. Well, when the lady looks at her favorite, she asks, "His Highness, how is this possible? Because he is beautiful and even has scratches on his face." But the guy said that there was no need to lie because he heard everything. And just now in his head, the lady said that she wanted to lick Kyle's wound. Benji, well, after that, asks if Joe still can't stop his thoughts. Well, the blonde tells Benji to stop because everything isn't so bad. The guy wonders if this is really true, and the main character claims that even though everything is so bad in this life, next time she will lead a healthy lifestyle. Benji at this time begs to do it in moderation. He is the one who swore allegiance to His Highness, and no matter how far they went, but this is too much. The main character says that she also knows all this, but thoughts are not something that can always be kept under control. The girl claims that from now on she will be more careful and will meditate every day. Well, then the blonde screams at her to just do nothing, and the girl asks what that means. Kyle claims that she just always thinks much louder when she's sitting doing nothing. Kim Gyum Ja understands that if you look at it this way, when she does nothing, she wakes up in the morning and eats during breaks. And right before bed, it seems she is talking a lot of nonsense at this time. So the main character apologizes to His Highness and claims that from now on, she will always be very busy. Well, the guy says that this is also not necessary. And the girl asks why Kyle claims that when she is busy, she becomes much more emotional. And in general, let her just say thank you to him. Kim Gyum Ja asks what she said, and the guy says all these obscene things. Benji, at the same moment, leans his sword against the lady, and the main character says that Mr. Security Guard should even give it to him. And weren't they on good terms just a few days ago? At this time, the blonde bumps into something, and when he looks at his feet, he realizes that this is the same book that flew at him recently. The guy turns to Benji and tells him to stop, after which he asks Joe what kind of book it is. The main character replies that Miss Deloa brought it to her. The blonde man wonders if this is really true, and the main character replies that it is the daughter of Count Alvanis who came with Prince Isaka to finish him off. The main character asks if they have never met before because it seems to her that this lady will definitely charm him. Her beauty is simply divine. Kyle wonders why she gave her a book, and the main character claims that it's not that they became friends just because the Avi are girls. Well, then she realizes that they asked that no one know that she is a woman, and if they find out that she was exposed so quickly, then the lady is sure that they will quarrel a lot. so the girl thinks how stupid everything turned out. Kim Gyum, Ja says, who knows? Maybe this lady fell in love with her, but at that moment, everyone is shocked. The main character looks at them and asks what kind of atmosphere this is. Kim Gyum, Ja wonders if it really sounded so strange that Deloa fell in love with her, and she thinks that it is very natural. The blonde just sighs after this, and the main character wonders if they really don't believe to that extent. Kim Gyum, Ja asks what's wrong with Kyle's expression, and is it really that shocking? The blonde wonders if Benji and Theodore aren't enough for her. And he also claims that it seems they have become very close since people know that the girl cannot read. The main character asks if all the prince's servants now know about this. And Rick knows too, so it seems that everyone in this palace knows about it. You blonde, listen to these words, as if catching many stones. After which, he furiously asks how it is that people attract absolutely every person they meet. And how is that even possible? And is it really sticky, like glue? The guy also claims that it's just like a Venus flytrap. The main character wonders if this is really true, after which she screams out how someone got it into their head to call her a flytrap, and how they could even think of that. And the young man cries out, in response, that it's because that's what she does, and clings to people regardless of age and other factors. Kim Gyum, Ja asks what's wrong with that, because she's quite good-looking. And if they were in her home country, then everyone would have recognized her long ago. Kyle claims that she doesn't even have an education. So what should she do in the world of the elite? Well, the main character asks if he's talking about education. The guy then screams that it doesn't matter what the girl looks like, because he told her to sit quietly in the palace and not stick her head out. But she needed to talk to everyone she met, so he asks what happens next and whether she is going to shake hands with the emperor. Kim Gyum, Ja replies that this was the next point of the plan, and all she wanted was to meet his majesty, and also to declare that she is the king of all horses, and he is just a pompous bully. Benji, watching these two, thinks what children they both are. The blonde claims that her manner of speaking is terrible, and he doesn't understand how Lady Albinaz tolerates her at all. Well, the main character asks how come he doesn't understand. After all, it's all about her beauty. After which the two are silent, and the main character asks why they are looking at her like that, and isn't it so? Benji says yes, actually, and then turns around, completely embarrassed, and claims that maybe it's true. The main character cries out to His Highness and asks if he understands, but he just looks menacingly at the lady and then says that she is like a flytrap. Kim Gyum, Ja screams, why are they talking about a flytrap again? People turn to His Highness and claim that even Benji knows how to compliment others, but he can't, and is it really impossible to at least once note her beauty, even if he doesn't think so? The guy then claims that if you look closely, it's possible. Well, then he just turns away. And in confusion, he cries out that he has never said anything like this to anyone before. The main character is surprised after that, and also wonders if he has never flirted with girls at social events. The guy then asks if she is kidding, and the main character thinks how sweet and innocent he is. The blonde asks if she can stop thinking about nonsense, at least now. And also, how can a lady like Albinaz, just because of her appearance, and also doesn't she think that she can do something else? Kim Gyum, Ja claims that she is just a stable boy, so what can you expect from her? But if this is true, then most likely she just wants to have incredibly beautiful children and nothing else. Kyle screams, how dare she say something like that? And does she really think that Earl Albinaz will leave her alone after this? For such denigration of the names of nobles, even 100 death sentences will not be enough. The main character screams what's wrong with the fact that she likes her face, and it doesn't matter that she has to clean up horse manure all day long to sometimes see His Highness's face. And in general, she hates this job, and she just likes to look at Kyle, and this does not happen very often. But she wants to see His Highness's face every day, and she also misses him so much that she wants to fall into eternal sleep. The guy is only embarrassed by this, and the main character looking at him is shocked. She immediately grabs Benji and screams that they need to immediately gather all the artists in the palace. After all, you just need to look at the face of His Highness, because this face, which contains the alienation of the whole world, is beautiful, as if he had absorbed all the best into it. It is a perfect combination of warm and cold, so it is obvious that only angels can create such harmony. It is too beautiful to be enjoyed in person, and this face should be placed on top of a palace for all to admire. Well then, the blonde screams that it's enough, and the girl realizes that she's about to faint because that face is just wonderful. Kayla needs to be preserved and passed down from generation to generation as a cultural heritage. Well then, the girl thinks that there is no preservation because she is there anyway, only to have fun, so she will just stick to him and enjoy the moment. Benji tells Joe to stop drooling and get down to business, and also tells him why he needed to meet with His Highness. The main character understands that she was definitely going to tell him something important. Kim Guillaume-ja claims that so many days without seeing His Highness almost knocked out her memory. The lady also wonders where he went a few days ago. The guy claims that he still suspects and asks why such questions. Well, the main character asks what he suspects her of, because she is a gift from God, sent to make him happy and bring good things into his life. But the guy claims that he doesn't understand what she's talking about, and the main characters don't think that it's good. She tells His Highness that everything is fine, and tells him to just trust her, and then she can give him excellent advice. The blonde then claims that it is good, and he will tell her. The guy claims that he would be Hestian, and the main character claims that there will be some kind of celebration there in a month, and also wonders if His Highness will be there too. The girl understands that in the novel, Priscilla got mad at some childish remark. The Empress claimed that while they would be having fun and strengthening their friendship in Hestian, the black-eyed one would devour Orbon. The woman also claimed that she couldn't believe that while Kyle was having fun and making friends in Hestian, the black-eyed prince had his hands on Orbon. The main character realizes that if it weren't for Kyle's face when she read that line, she would have been as angry as Priscilla. Well, now everything is different. Kim Guillaume-ja, known as the lady who can get close to His Highness, although she has not yet had the chance to enjoy it, stands right in front of His Highness. At this time, the blonde is wondering how she knows about this, and how she knows about his plans for the future. After all, he was only going to make a decision today, after which the main character thinks that she said too much. Kim Guillaume-ja doesn't even know what to say, and claims that she heard the servants' conversation during lunch, and more precisely during dinner. She also tries to justify herself, and claims that everything is not as it seems, because she cannot tell about everything. But he wishes only the best for His Highness, so he must go to Orbon, and not to Hessian. There is this black mineral, and its name seems to be Orbsidel. The lady thinks what a complicated name this is, and this is one of the reasons for the general hostility towards the author. The girl claims that it is black ore, from which strong balls from cheats are obtained. The girl also claims that he cannot go to Hestian, but the guy asks again how she knows about this, and suggests that she simply answer his question. Kim Guillaume-ja claims that everyone in the Imperial Palace knows that the Empress is practically possessed by Orbsidel. It is said that she sends gifts to Orbon every spring, and the servants preparing the gifts met in the common room, and she also heard their conversation. Benji is wondering why the atmosphere has suddenly become so tense. The main character tells Kyle to leave all doubts behind because he needs to go to Orbon. The girl understands that even she herself understands how ridiculous this sounds, and yet she can't let the guy fall into eternal sleep like this because she needs to convince him. Well then, the blonde asks Joe why he should listen to her. Kim Guillaume-ja is shocked by this. She tries to say something but still can't think of anything. And then she says that, as she said, she likes His Highness. The guy claims that he asked why he should listen to her, if she could turn out to be a sucker or some shaman. He needs an answer there and then. The main character screams at His Highness. Does he really not understand that she is simply worried about him? She knows that sometimes she can be strange and awkward, and doesn't understand, but well, let him just believe her, at least this time. After this, the guy just pushes the main character away and then turns around completely. When the girl sees his face, she remains speechless. His Highness turns to Benji and says that they are leaving. Rick opens the door at this time and asks Joe what he is standing there for. The man approaches the guy and apologizes, and also claims that next time she will share potatoes with him. Well, when the main character does not answer, then the man turns her towards him, and seeing tears on her face, asks what happened. Kim Gyum Ja screams what an idiot Kyle is, because she went on for so long, and said that she likes him. But what, in the end? The variant then turns around and says that if only the prince doesn't hear, but what will happen if he hears? Kim Gyum Ja wonders if she has ever given bad advice, and of course she has. But what kind of assassin is she? And she doesn't look like a shaman, but she really just does it because she likes him, and that's all. The blonde guy returns to the mansion at this time and understands that he has no reason to believe in it, and yet he doubts. The guy thinks why he wants to believe her so much, and maybe she is a witch. Well, it still does not pull on the effect of a spell. This had never happened to him before, and he never thought that it would ever happen. Benji, at this time, turns to His Highness and says that if he is talking about Joe, then he can repeat the investigation. Well, the blonde guy asks the guy what about him and what he thinks is Joe lying. And also, does she look like a shaman? The guy realizes that he never allowed the thought that Joe could lie. Well, she is an excellent actress when it comes to pretense. So the guy claims that he can't be sure that it wasn't a lie, but in his opinion she is a very honest person. The blonde then asks if she likes him, and the guy replies that to tell the truth, he thinks so. After which, His Highness tells him to go to the servants and also find out if there is at least someone who knows Joe well. Kyle couldn't accept even the most obvious sincerity, and that's how he was raised and how he was supposed to live his life. In order to take the place of the crown prince, he had to be suspected by absolutely everyone. Otherwise, he would one day be plunged into eternal sleep, just like his brothers. The next day, the main character wakes up and goes to the horses. She also tells Dieppe to stop licking her face, and maybe he doesn't know it, but it's something from the genre of romance. Letty also says that grooms also have feelings. Well, at that very moment, the lady hears someone talking to her, and when she turns around, she realizes that it is some familiar voice. When the lady sees Theo, she screams that he has finally shown up and wonders what the guy has been doing all this time. Well, when the main character looks at the guy, she wonders what's wrong with his face, and did he really not sleep last night? To which the guy replies that it's not about that and that he just didn't get enough sleep. Well, after which he also asks what's wrong with Joe's face, and also whether she's sad because she hasn't seen him for a long time. The main character, with a smile on her face, replies that of course, and the guy claims that he wants to ride a horse, so he offers to bring Lindsay. A short time later, the boy turns to Joe and claims that the other servants are bowing or prostrating themselves before him, so that he could use them as steps, and the main character wonders if this is really the case. The guy claims that yes, and they don't put him on the horse themselves, like she does. The young man also turns to Joe and is not interested in what is happening to him, because he is moving away from the wall every time. And also suddenly freezes and looks ahead. He is not having fun and not joking as usual, so the guy asks what has already happened. But when he looks at the face of the main character, he falls silent, after which he screams that he does not need to fall or bloom. He can put him on a horse, and he also hopes that future services will not need to bow. A little while later, these two will already eat near the stable. The girl claims that it seems that Kyle does not believe that she likes him. And of course, she understands that he cannot trust everyone he meets, and her in particular. Well, sometimes it hurts so much. Theo then asks why he doesn't believe her, since the lady confessed to him, and doesn't he feel the same way about her? The main character claims that the thing is that she most likely likes him more than he likes her. And even if he says what a guy can understand in relationships, the young man answers that when he grows up, he will be an expert in this. And also, let the lady wait, because several years will pass, and people who like him will line up, and then he will come out into the world. The main character, imagining this, just starts laughing and asks if he will really go out into the world. She basically laughed and claimed that the guy would be quite the gentleman, but the young man asked what was so funny about that. Kim Gyum-ja claims that no matter how hard he tries, he is not a real nobleman, but simply the son of a wealthy family. She does not deny that he is attractive, but in high society, money and appearance are not enough, because influence and title are also needed. But the young man cries out that his family is not so bad. The main character smiles and claims that when she was little, she also thought that when she grew up, she would be famous and rich, and those were good times. The girl also thought that when she grows up, she will become rich like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates. Well, the young man asks what she is talking about, because he can't understand her at all, and the lady sounds like a market trader. And in general, she speaks as if she herself is not 17. Kim Gyum-ja understands that it seems that among all the characters in the novel, this guy is the most savvy, and she does not understand why he did not appear in the book itself. Honestly, he is close to the truth, and in general she is 25. And besides, her gender is wrong there, and yet his intuition is fine, so he needs to quickly change the subject. After which the main character notices a book next to her and asks if Theo can tell her about it, because in truth, she cannot read. The guy asks if she is talking about the legend of Wiltheon, and the main character asks if this is really such a book. The young man replies that yes, he read it when he was little, and in the lands of Biltion, where Taiyang rests, there is a red land. Only someone with red eyes like Taiyang himself can become its emperor. But at that very moment, the main character throws the book on the floor, and the young man screams out what she is doing. And also, does she really dislike the legend of Wiltheon? Kim Gyum-ja replies that, of course she does, and she can't stand it. The lady screams, does he really think that there is any meaning in the fact that only the one with a red iris can become an emperor, and does everyone really extol this legend so much? The young man may not know, but genes are a little more complex than they seem, and they can be dominant or recessive. But this is still pure chance. Even if His Majesty has a child, his hair, eye, and skin color may differ depending on the Queen's DNA and also on their ancestors. The main character also asks what the hell is going on with these damned red eyes. But at that very moment, the young man covers her mouth with a book, and when he removes it, he asserts that he really likes Joe, and the main character wonders what kind of sudden confession this is. The young man claims that he really enjoys meeting her sometimes, so let Letty stop insulting the Imperial family. After all, the walls have ears, and if someone hears this, it will be very bad. A little while later, the lady looks at the book. The girl is also very worried about what Theo said before leaving, and he claimed that if someone hears her insulting the Imperial family, she will be sentenced to execution, and then the lady will be more careful. The main character understands that he is afraid of even the most insignificant things, and the guy is such a child. Well, the lady also thinks that there is something wrong with this legend, and that in this world, so many people suffer because of this approach. Maybe it's none of her business, but everything that's going on there is wrong. When the lady gets up from her seat, she feels some pain. She also thinks, what kind of shadow is this? Because it is like a roller coaster. Benji at this time approaches the lady. He asks what happened and whether she is sick. He also asks if the girl can hear him and if everything is okay with her. The main character then turns to Benji with hope, but then only asks where His Highness Kyle is. Benji feels a little disappointed and claims that he asked him to tell the lady that he was going to Orbon. The main character immediately gets up from her seat. The red-haired young man claims that he said he intends to try since she so zealously asks him. Kim Gyum-ja asks if it is true, She also understands that in truth at night, she gave Kyle messages that all the people of Biltion are idiots and also asked why they need medicine. One look at Kyle's face will make them feel much better, and all illnesses will disappear as if by hand, and she is a witness to this. The girl also thinks that Kyle needs to be as careful as possible in Orbon, and also not to show off the Imperial coat of arms on his carriage. In those lands, it is better not to stand out, and the Countess's family was plunged into eternal sleep by the hand of the previous emperor. The Countess fundamentally hates the Imperial family of Biltion, and when the previous emperor ascended the throne, he said that he had finished off all of Countess Orbon's relatives. They will never give up their precious minerals to those who destroyed their land. And Orbon had long since stopped trading with other regions. Orbsidel became something of a mythical mineral, and over time, it became surrounded by more and more rumors. Sometimes, resource-hungry nobles would come to Orbon in hopes of making a trade agreement, but they were all met with a cold reception. One of the people at the table claimed that you can send them gifts and mountains, but it's all useless because they send everything back, and they directly said that Orbsidel is not a product for sale. Most likely, they simply do not want to give an advantage to their enemies, which they consider to be the Imperial family, and as a result, the mention of Orbon only causes irritation and sighs. The lady wanted to tell him about how the main character was able to melt the Countess's heart in the book. Well, she still doesn't think that he will believe her, so she needs to know the limits of her requests, and the girl came up with a moderate version of all this. She thought that in order to find the way to the heart of Countess Orbon, she had to constantly show her kindness by knocking on her door every day with her precious beautiful finger. His blue eyes can play into his hands, but let the guy show her that he is extremely far from his mother. He also doesn't think that he likes the Empress, and she never even thought of insulting his stepmother. Well then, the lady thought, did she really tell the boy, and wondered why it was impossible to interrupt the telepathic connection. But she doesn't even know if he hears her, and it's terrible. Kim Gum. Ja wonders if he can hear her, then wonders what kind of time this is, and why it was impossible to invent two-way communication. Now the girl turns to Benji and asks if the prince received her messages about the guy. He replies that perhaps he asked them to stop talking to him. Kim Gim. Ja at that moment hits her head against a tree and thinks that she wants to fall into the ground. Benji realizes that His Highness ordered him to conduct another investigation, but he found nothing. Everything is confusing, but he still does not think that the lady is really an assassin. The main character once again turns to Benji and claims that he is the only one she can ask. The lady also wonders what the local girls do when they have these days, and Benji is the only one who knows about her situation and also understands her. She is embarrassed to ask about this, but she really needs to know, and she also needs to get a haircut because her hair is too long. A little while later, Benji cut his hair and put on some spare clothes. The main character thanked him and suggested the guy to be more careful. As he was leaving, Benji had already begun to admit the thought that maybe she really was the devil incarnate. A week later, the butler came to Joe and asked how he was feeling, because it seemed like he really was a reliable person. The main character smiled and claimed that she was trying to build muscle because it turned out that people were ignoring her because of her beauty. She also asks if the gentleman said that 4 horses were needed and wonders where he is heading. The butler replies that he heard His Highness is going to Orbon. The main character understands that, thank God, and it was not in vain that she begged him every day and every night, but judging by the fact that he sent Uncle Pell, he is still angry with her. Well, he was already planning to go to Hestion, and yet she says that Uncle Pell came alone. But the man replies that no, there are still people behind the fence. The man understands that judging by the guy's sadness, His Highness still does not notice him. The misunderstandings with Pell only get worse. The man says how poor this guy is, and let him not make such a sour face at me. But he knows that His Highness values him very much. When the man leaves, he says that he does not care about her courage. and the main character suggests that he be careful. Well, when the girl turns to the horse, she hears some sound. She sees a man who asks why the horse just won't listen. The main character wonders if it's Lindsay, then runs up to the man and throws a shoe at him and screams, "What a bastard thief he is! Because how can he steal horses from the Imperial palace like that?" The guy then claims that he has permission. But the main character screams that there are no permits, and His Highness Kyle is not even there, and he got permission from someone. Well, when the guy takes off his hood, the girl notices that he has black hair. The young man claims that Prince Theo gave him permission. This is Prince Kyle's brother, and although he fell asleep in the middle of the conversation, he still received permission. The main character asks if he is Prince Isaka, and the guy asks how the lady knows his name. Kim Gyum-ja understands that, even despite the black eyes, he gives the impression of fun and playfulness, like a village idiot, and it is just like described in the book. The young man claims that he understands how it might look from the point of view of the groom. Prince Theo allowed him to walk. When Isaka says this name, the girl thinks what he is talking about. She apologizes to His Highness Isaac, but wonders what he said was the name of His Highness Kyle's brother, the brunette. Then wonders if the guy really works in the palace, and doesn't know, because he thought that this young man was often in the stables. The full name of this guy is Theodore de Bilteon, but usually everyone just calls him Theo. The main character understands that he had pink eyes and chestnut, even reddish hair. There is not much information in the book about the environment of the fifth prince, Theodore's eternal sleep. Like all princes who did not have red eyes, the boy fell into eternal sleep and was buried without much honor. However, it was this event that caused Isak's hostility towards the nobility, and after that no one ever mentioned Theo's existence. The brunette at this time turns to the guy and asks if he is okay, and also why he turned so pale. The main character screams that she has an important question for Prince Isaka, and also does he know where the resting place of the fifth Prince Theodore is. The guy replies that she will just pass by the rose garden and see a white tower, and right behind it there will be beige buildings. That's where Theo lives. The main character thanks His Highness and immediately runs away. The guy then screams for him to wait, and also wonders what he should do with the horse. A little while later, the girl is already in front of the guards, and he wonders who the guy is and where he is going. Kim Gyum-ja screams that she urgently needs to see the fifth prince, Theodore. Well, the man says that this guy should get out because a stable boy like him has no business there. The main character claims that she is there on the orders of Prince Isaka. The man wonders if she is talking about this guy because he mistook him for someone's servant. After all, judging by his appearance, this is not strange. The main character claims that she works in the stables of His Highness Kyle, and Prince Isaka just passed by her, but the man claims that the young man does not need to go on about it and just clean up because Prince Kyle will not help him. The guy needs to gain experience in meeting really important people, and he is very young and inexperienced. At that moment, a servant girl comes up to the book and asks what is going on. The guard replies that this guy said that he needs to meet Prince Theodore. The maid replies that His Highness is sleeping, and the guard asks if I heard the guy because he should come later. The main character understands that she already knows, and that's why she's furious. In the book, the guy's immersion in eternal sleep was described in this way. The young man slept a lot, and more every day, and then one day he just didn't wake up. After some time, Kyle began to doubt Princess Sienna and asked if she had put his brother into eternal sleep. The lady remembers that at that moment she tried to imagine a smile on Kyle's exhausted face because she didn't even think about the surroundings in Theo's eternal sleep. Now the main character clenches her fists and runs past the guard. The man screams that this is an intruder and orders to take him. The main character wonders if they really want to take her, but if so, then they need to catch up with her first. When the girl walks through the palace, she thinks why it is so quiet there, because this is the prince's peace, and she does not understand why there are no people there. At this time, the young man comes out of his room and wonders what the noise is because he asked to let him sleep. The main character, seeing the boy, immediately runs up to him and hugs him. The young man is surprised by this and asks Joe what happened and why he is there. The guy also turns to the guard and tells him to return to his post. A little while later, the young man returns to bed and the main character sits down on a chair next to him. The lady claims that she heard rumors about the little principal, and he immediately came to mind. The only little prince in the palace is none other than her baby. But the guy wonders why he continues to speak in such a tone. Kim Guillaume Ja asks if he is sleeping again, and the young man replies that he often feels sleepy lately. The main character takes the guy by the hand and realizes that she came without a special plan in her head, so she doesn't even know what to tell him. Kim Guillaume Ja says that His Highness can't sleep like this all day long. She also remembers that even the Imperial physician couldn't determine the reason for Theo's eternal sleep. The lady realizes that maybe she should ask someone to check his food or tell them to find a cure. The girl doesn't even know how to save Theo. At this time, the young man lies smiling and claims that it seems that Joe is addressing him by his title for the first time and that she should always do so. Kim Guillaume Ja realizes that she didn't know he was special back then. The lady claims that sometimes she can say all sorts of nonsense and asks, "What about him?" Well, the young man says what a cheeky Joe is, and he will behead him. Kim Guillaume Ja asks Sir Theo if there have been any changes in the last few months, and maybe blankets, wallpaper, or something from food or water. The guy replies that maybe, and he doesn't know because everything seemed to be as usual. The girl asks if there was anything else and if new servants arrived. The young man then gets ready to say something, but the main character notices that he wants to fall asleep again and cries out, "Is he really falling asleep again?" The lady offers to talk to him and asks if he wants to ride Lindsay, but she can even ride him on her back. Well, then the guy falls asleep right in her arms. After this, no matter how hard the lady tried to shake him, the boy did not wake up, and eventually she was thrown out of the palace. The man told this certain guy to stop hanging around there and getting in the way, and to go back to the stables and mind his own business. The lady thinks how annoying it is that she can't do anything. And in the novel, she is just a stable worker, a supporting person who is not even listed as a character. The girl understands that this young man will fall into eternal sleep if she does nothing. And what will happen if one day he simply does not wake up? Even if she knows what will happen next, what can a simple comedian like her do? When the lady returns, she sees a guy with black hair who claims that it's worth just looking who's back. Kim Guillaume Ja asks if His Highness was waiting for her, and the guy replies that it's not right to leave horses unattended, and the horse ran away as if he saw a ghost. So the young man asks if he is okay. The main character understands that he is asking if she is okay, and this young man is really kind, just like in the novel. Lady realizes that she used to wonder why he didn't stop behaving like a man from the slums. He didn't even argue with Deloa and cried in front of her. If she remembers correctly, he will remain like that until the end. And some people just don't change. Although then the main character thinks that this is the brave and main hero, and wonders if the prince just asked if she was okay. The guy notes that yes, after which the main character immediately bows and cries out with a request to His Highness to help her because her friend is plunging into eternal sleep. The guy then asks what she is talking about and who is falling into eternal sleep, and the lady replies that she is not connected to her in any way, but he was like family to her from the day she got a job at the stable. He used to run and jump happily from morning till night, but now he only sleeps and can't get out of bed. She doesn't know what's happening to him, so she asks the prince to help her. The main character also says, "Why him and not her?" And she will find a way to repay His Highness. The brunette at this time asks if he tells the horse that this young man began to sleep a lot and maybe he was poisoned. So he asks if he tried to call a doctor. The main character replies that she doesn't know anything about poisons and doesn't know what to do. Kim Gyum-ja understands that, according to the book, Isaka is from the provinces, so he is a very loyal and understanding person. When he sees a person in trouble, he simply cannot pass by, and the girl understands that she had many squabbles with Deloa. Well, what can she do? She needs to set priorities. At this time, the brunette tells the groom not to worry, because he will do everything in his power, and he is surrounded by many smart people. He may not be a big shot, but he can't pretend not to notice. The main character, looking at His Highness, understands that he is a really good person. So how she wants to have such a boss? The brunette at this time is interested in the name of the groom, and he answers that his name is Joe. The brunette then says that we will try to find out something, or from me tomorrow, as soon as he can. The lady says that she believes in the principle, and the guy suggests that Joe should rest better because he looks terrible, and it looks like he had to go through a lot. But the main character understands that she always looks like this. After she smiled, the prince left, and tomorrow they will find out what poisoned Theo and what can help him. Then she will buy it with her salary and somehow give it to the boy. Well, the lady also thinks that if only Kyle and Benji were there. Well, the lady understands that they would never believe her if she said that Theo are immersed in eternal sleep, and they would think that she is a shaman. The lady thinks what a bastard Kyle is. After all, she does everything for him, and he can't even believe in her. The girl also hopes in her mind that he didn't hear this. The guy at this time is heading in a carriage and claims that he hears everything. Benji turns to His Highness and asks if he said something. The blonde at this time asks how the guy thinks he could hug him, and the young man with red hair is interested. Does His Highness really want him to hug him? After which the guys answer that no and oh, okay. A little while later, the main character realizes that 3 days have passed and Isaka still hasn't shown up. The lady chops wood and screams that she said she believed in him. The guy said he would come tomorrow, but never showed up. And when she tried to visit Theo, the guards threw her out every time. Rick at this time turns to Joe, claims that he has done a lot today, and wonders if something has happened. The girl replies that everything is terrible because she cannot even meet with His Highness Isaac. Her interlocutor asks if this is the new Black Prince, and the girl replies that he is, and what should she tell him? But the man asks if the groom didn't hear because he left this morning. The main character asks where, and the man claims that it is in the same place as His Highness Kyle, and that this city is called something like Orbon. The main character asks if he is talking about Orbon, and the man replies that yes, and the main character screams that this guy said that he would help, and she believed him. He said he would do everything in his power. Rick at this time turns to Joe with concern and tells him not to cut down living trees, but the main character only thinks what a traitor this guy is. The young man shudders at this time, and Deloa says that His Highness should be calmer. The brunette then asks the girl where they are in such a hurry, and the lady replies that they cannot know which way Prince Kyle is going. She thought he would be able to concentrate on Hessian. The brunette screams that the man needed his help, and he promised him, but the girl replies that he said something similar when they left Albanese. He said that he had to help his brothers and sisters, and if something happened to His Highness, then they might start to starve. One of the ladies asked her brother not to leave, and now the boy remembers how the groom addressed him and also asked for help because he is a prince. Well, Deloa comes out of the guy's thoughts. She claims that she doesn't know for sure what he was thinking about, but she knows that it's someone's personal problem, and he's not obligated to help. Surely there will be another solution, so let him not let emotions stop him and think rationally. The guy then replies that yes, and he understands. Whatever this girl says, she paid the kids, gave them jobs, so they could survive, and all he could do was leave without regrets. So maybe Deloa do something for Joe. The guy turns to the girl and wonders if she just called him by name. The main character at this time understands that in this place there are no gods, and there is only petty and pathetic she. The lady did not want to resort to this, But with each minute, Theo is getting closer to plunging into eternal sleep. So the girl climbs onto the roof of the house and screams that Kyle is just the bomb and beautiful from head to toe. The main character screams for her cute kitten to come back immediately because Theodore is falling into eternal sleep. Benji is talking to some man at this time, but then he hears some sound and turns around and sees that His Highness is already riding on a horse, and he asks where the guy is heading. A little while later, the blonde man is already approaching the palace, and one of the servants asks if this is His Highness Kyle. At this time, the blonde screams for them to get out of the way and then runs between the knights. At this time, the main character hears how someone is about to decide and wakes up. After which, she sees Kyle in front of her and screams that she knew he would return. The guy at this time only grabs the lady and asks what she is talking about, and also whether his brother is really falling into eternal sleep. He also tells the girl to explain immediately and why worry before he laughed at her jokes. But if this is one of them, then it would be better if it wasn't like that. One of the guards at this time approaches His Highness and asks what is happening, but he replies that nothing and tells them to go from there. Kyle also says that Joe is going with him, and the girl understands that this does not look good. The blonde then claims that Theo is his younger brother. Well, the main character replies that she knows Kyle claims that no matter what he is, the young man is still the 5th prince of the country. So why would he suddenly fall into eternal sleep? Kyle claims that this time it has gone too far and wonders what it means and what the hell is going on. Lady screams that she had her reasons, and he sleeps all the time, and no one can help him. Kim Gyum Ja claims that someone is trying to poison him, and that the guy is getting weaker every day, and she can't do anything. So she asks Kyle to help because he knows about the disappearances of princes who don't have red eyes. Well, the guy is just wondering if this is her doing, and the main character is wondering what he is talking about, after which the guy just puts the sword to her neck